Hello, guys and dolls. Welcome back to Honey Badger 3D Print and Paint. Today, we're just hanging out. I'm melting things. Everybody else has got projects on the go. I'm joined by an illustrious team of creators. Phil, how are you? I did use your logo, Phil, although I do feel like you're going to have to change it because in the logo, you are standing up. And I don't think that's...
No, I'm standing up again now. I'm good.
You're standing up again?
Yeah, I'm back to full health almost. Man. I know. I've been repaired without 3D printing.
It's like the $6 million man.
Yeah. Well, no, just natural, natural. Nothing.
Oh, right. You've healed like one of those wonky kids at school after polio.
Yeah, that's it.
They managed to rebuild your sausage roll.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not going there still. No,
right. Today, there's no fixed agenda. This is just us having a meet, having a chat, inviting people, talking about projects. I'm playing about with my Voron at the moment. So I've done a bunch of stuff on the Voron. I've done a skeleton aluminium X bar. I've done carbon fiber X and Y mounts. I did aluminium A and B brackets, aluminium tensioners, and aluminium Z tensioners. Why, you might ask? Because I got a new job. So everything's aluminium now. All my stuff is aluminium, everything. And then I've also mounted a USB-C ADXL sensor to the top. So hopefully, once I've tested everything, I might even be able to get this actually doing proper input shaper rather than diet input shaper, which is what I've been doing up until now, which is using my caveman eyes to try and figure out what resonance this is supposed to be.
Which has resulted in like very basic cubes.
Yeah. They've not been good.
Cubes are cubes.
Yeah. These cubes aren't very cubey. That's the problem.
And
so it looks like an out-of-date Oxford cube then.
No, some of them look like curly whirly.
Oh.
I did one cube and it looked a bit more like a benchy. So it was it was definitely off.
But what speed was it at?
So I mean it was doing, so I think it was on about 350, something like that. The problem I was having was, all the problems I was having was belts. So
I have issue with belts as well, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, clothes belts I have an issue with because they don't really make them in my girth.
This doesn't help.
Yeah, it doesn't. But the issue I was having was when I printed all my original parts, I did them on a Sidewinder. I did them in ABS. I did them on a Sidewinder X1, and I didn't have an enclosure. So, apart from the fact that I got an absolutely savage headache, I got really, really bad warpage, and as a result, everything that I put into it was just slightly out.
So why didn't you use a draft shield?
So an excellent question. I when we were building this, we got this as a kit from Blue Rolls, and we were on a really tight timeline to get everything printed, and I didn't have an enclosed machine at the time. I mean, this machine now is, Mike, how old is this? 2 years?
Gotta be.
Yeah, easy.
Gotta be 2 years. So when we got the kit, we were on a really tight timeline that we'd stupidly agreed to get everything done and put together so we could do all the streams and stuff. And I literally didn't have time to reprint anything that I was doing. And they were coming off the build plate okay. Not great, but okay. And then you left them on the side and you came back and they were like, they sort of smiled themselves round into a big, horrible, gloopy ball. So I'd left it alone for ages. I'd got it printing and it was printing, but it really couldn't do more than like 60 millimeters a second, which for a Voron is ridiculously slow.
Essentially, that's Ender speeds.
Yeah, it's effectively pointlessly slow at that point. It was doing okay prints, but nothing amazing. And again, I hadn't done half of the calibration I was supposed to. I hadn't done input shaper. I hadn't done pressure advance. And I hadn't done everything that I was supposed to have done to get it printing really nicely. I just got it to a point where it was printing acceptably. So since then, I've now done the clicker. I've done the clicky probe upgrade. So, because that's just fascinating to watch, where it docks the probe over in the corner. I love that.
And now, are you running visual mesh alignment on that, or are you running just a standard similar to just a standard clicker mesh meta leveling?
So I haven't gotten into setting everything for that up properly yet. So basically, I've had it where it has done its quad gantry level, but then whilst it was doing all of that, everything else turned up for the rest of the upgrade. So I was like, right, okay, so it was strip everything out because it's A/B motor brackets, it's X and Y tensioners and everything else. So it was sort of, there was no real point. I also did a full tool head rewire, and I reprinted the tool head, so the tool head actually looked good. I've changed over to an induction heating V6. I had a Magnum on there, but I just wasn't happy with how the Magnum was working. Again, to be fair, it wasn't anything to do with the Magnum. It was the fact the tool head that I had printed was just garbage for all intents and purposes. The tolerances were all off. My filament path must have looked like a game of snakes and ladders. Like it was terrible. So I've got a proper wiring harness in here now. I've got the breakout board in here now. I've got I've just fitted the new probe to it. So in theory, this is the test now to see whether or not this actually homes, which I'll probably unplug this for the moment.
Do you remember all the issues with Creality Cloud ripping people off?
Yeah.
Vividly.
Well, I've called them out again because someone has uploaded a Clock Spring 3D SDL, and I've called them out on TikTok the other day.
Right.
So I'm likely to be in Creality's bad books for a very long time.
Great. Well,
Phil's in there now anyway, but yeah.
Just
Phil's in the bad books, or Phil's
Phil's in the good books.
Phil's in the good books.
Yeah, he used his disability to get in.
Did he?
I did pull that card, to be fair. No, I did.
He does those phone holders, doesn't he, and tablet holders. Clock Spring really well. You know, the clicky ones he does. It was his planetary one, and someone shared the link off Creality Cloud, so I called them out. They blocked me the other day, but I've sent a few messages.
So this is a holistic problem that we've had with. So we refused the Hallett Sky when that first came out, when they first started doing Creality Cloud, and they've reached out to us about a couple of other machines since, and when they sent over their terms and conditions, we were like, no, like they own a. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, I wouldn't mind getting my hands on like a K1 or K1 Max.
Did we say we were going to shout at someone's friend from Zapcha?
What's that?
Zapcha said, shout at my friend. You said you will, please.
Zapta?
Rick, I would say...
Hello, Zapcha. Shout out. So sorry. So very quickly, we went to a primary school the other day. We were allowed. It wasn't a weird thing.
It was consensual.
It was consensual. There were teachers and other adults around. We were signed in. Our pictures were taken. Everything was above board. So we donated a 3D printer to a local school. It is a primary school. So year 6 are currently learning how to use Tinkercad as part of their curriculum. I have to say that
some of the stuff they did was amazing.
Some of the stuff they're able to do is mad. Bearing in mind that these are what were they? So 6 to 7 year olds.
Yeah,
6 to 7.
Oh wow, that's my daughter's age. My daughter's 7.
9 to 10.
9.
What? Yeah, year 6.
Yeah, 9 to 10.
Yeah.
9 to 10.
Is it 9 to 10?
Yeah.
If they're year 6.
Oh, okay.
Well, okay, 10 to 11 for year 6. No.
Well, my daughter's in year 1, so
10 to 11. Because they go to year 7 as high school, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, children of an indeterminate age were were there, and they would do it. They were showing us their Tinkercad stuff. We donated a 3D printer so they can print those. So we gave them a Sidewinder X2 that we had. They are going to be able to print their Tinkercad designs at the end of the year. So it's something they can have. And while we were there, a bunch of the kids. Shout out, please, Zapcha. Shout out, yep. So a bunch of the kids immediately went on the school's Wi-Fi and signed up and immediately went and subscribed to our channel. So we got about 40 subscribers yesterday out of children. That doesn't count as bribery in YouTube's terms and conditions, but it probably should. Dell's logos. Yes, Dell's logos. Shout out for you as well.
That's it.
So anyway, we went and did that. So that's the shout out. So answer to your question, Rick, are they going to send us a K1? Honest answer is almost definitely they aren't. We have said before how we have had the experience we've had with Creality. I still maintain that an Ender 3 is still one of the best starter printers that you can still get somebody. Nothing will change about that, apart from the fact the Ender 3 changed an industry for us. The Ender 3 is a machine that has already been broken in so many different ways that you can Google whatever thing you did, and there's a great chance that there's already a solution in how to fix it. It's a fantastic tool on how to learn. Hey Sam. It's a fantastic tool on how to learn how to 3D print, and if you can get a good print out of a Ender 3, then you can get a good print out of most machines.
I mean, Carl can attest to look what I did on my Ender 3 with my dragon.
Yeah.
Well, why do we have to bring that up?
That went in the bin.
I've just started sleeping after that. Torture of doing that bloody dragon.
Well, I was just asked to do it again, but 5 times the scale on my Cobra Plus.
It's one way to lose 3 nights sleep.
Just sitting there staring at it the whole time.
But as you can see, I've also upgraded to the light side.
Right. Yeah.
Because if you guys didn't know, James, I didn't know if you last time I talked with you over on TikTok, Akuma Mods had actually donated a brand new mono 4K to me with a full kit.
Yep.
And I was told, by he was very explicit. Wait until it is 100% because now I'm looking at a bigger printer because I want to do masks.
Yeah.
And it really draws you in because it's 3 times faster than FDM printing. It's also slightly more satisfying watching it form out of liquid.
So very quickly, Stephen Jones on Facebook has just asked, is that because the Ender 3 is a budget printer? Yeah. It's a low cost of entry to the hobby. And honestly,
it's a gateway drug.
Yeah, it's a fun way to get you hooked. It's the Mary J of the 3D printing world. And then you end up like all of us.
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, and then you do all of us where we start getting some really exotic stuff in.
Or you just have like an array of resin printers.
So is that off the Cobra, is it?
I'm assuming Sam missed the bit about having 40 new kids subscribing to the channel because he's mentioned bumming at this stage already.
So I have
Discord.
I don't think you'll be going back to that score any day soon.
So my Ender's right down here. It's actually in timeout because I need a new build plate for it.
Right.
Because I'm the dumb one and didn't fully clean all the glue off the smooth side.
Right, yeah.
And when I flipped it over to use the texture side, it kind of took a giant chunk out of the magnetic plate. And now it doesn't fully adhere.
Yeah. Right. So Stefan just said the first printer he got was a Prusa Mark III. So I don't. So okay. So if you get the kit with Prusa, then you are assembling a 3D printer by any stretch, and what you have at the end is a really good machine. But the cost of entry is really quite significant. You know, even if you're buying the kit, you're still at what's it at now? Is it like $7?
Yeah,
I think it's like $800.
Yeah, but at least
like 800 US.
At least you get a reply in 24 hours. Yeah, but you get a reply within 24 hours of Prusa. Like I've had 4 weeks for an email back from Creality once.
That's true. However, what I would say is that with Prusa, you go to Prusa for support. With Creality, there's no point in going to Creality because they'll just call you an idiot and
waste your time.
Say it's your fault. You know,
yeah,
so
and
you
waste your
well,
and
so
waste
you
your
go
time.
straight to the community with Creality. And Creality, all right, it's not necessarily it's not necessarily a great experience for most people in the Creality groups because you'll still be told to level the build plate and you'll still be
do their test print, do their test print, do a video for it. Oh yeah, I've gone through that hoops before. No, so anytime anybody ever asks me, hey, what's a good printer to get started? I tell them Ender 3, or there's a new competitor for the best budget beginning printer, which is the Cobra Neo.
Okay.
Because they're on the same price point now. So I'm going to go off US dollar on this one because I don't have my conversion up right now. Right. So right now you can pick up a Ender 3 for $189 off Amazon.
Right.
Or you can also pick up, hey, Akuma, what's going on? Or you can pick up an Anycubic Cobra Neo for $189 with a free roll of filament.
That's pretty good.
Let's have a look, see what you can get.
Grand Affected just got the Hallett Mage.
Oh, nice.
He said it's so fast. He says it's ridiculous. 17 millimeters an hour.
Yeah, I like what they've put on there, where you can actually remove resin from the vat.
Yeah,
with the system.
It auto feeds and auto siphons.
That is brilliant. I think that would be quite popular, and I'd be interested to see that on other machines because, like,
I would love that on my Mega because that's a real problem when you have to do that.
Because
so the Cobra Neo in the UK, for anyone watching, is £199 on Amazon at the moment, and that's on Prime.
But that's
so that's only that's literally $10 more than the US one. So yeah, that's actually that kind of tracks.
Yeah.
$189 for the Neo or $189 for an Ender 3. And
so what's the difference between the Cobra Neo and the Cobra Go?
The Cobra Neo is a direct drive. You can't beat the frame.
Oh, is the Cobra Go just a Bowden, is it?
Yeah, the Cobra Go is a Bowden and the Cobra Neo is a direct drive. Right. But they both have the same exact build plate volume.
Yeah.
and they're on par with the size and, you know, reliability basically of an Ender 3.
Yeah,
I think Andrew mentioned the King Rune KP3S. They're really popular at the moment and really cheap.
And comments here, Kumamod said, for the price, you can't beat the Sunlu S8 Plus for $199.
Yeah,
true. Yeah, I mean, look, so Solvo have got the new SVO6, right, which is the Prusa Mark III Plus Gillette.
They released details of the SVO7 today.
I want to get my hands on the Elegoo Max.
So
right, yeah.
So the SVO7 is their first clipper printer released by them.
Oh, okay.
They did a live stream today. I missed it because I've got kids that disturb me. But it's their first venture into clipper.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've seen.
So that's quite interesting.
Yeah, it looks all right. I mean, $300. I mean, I'm not being funny. If you bought an Ender 3 or the Neo and you managed to get a second-hand Raspberry Pi, then you could
Andrew, send me the link for that.
But it depends on whether or not you've already got a Pi.
Andrew, send me the link where you got it for £89.
What's that?
the KPS3.
Oh, okay.
How have you got on with that small printer? Did you have a look at them instructions?
I'll be honest with you, I haven't. We were at the school the other day, and today I've mainly been asleep. Then I went out and got a freezer because I live a crazy lifestyle. Like it's full on all the time. It's either asleep or go and pick up a freezer. That was pretty much it.
I spent most of my week in bed after last weekend with the football tournament. So I was running for 3 days.
You've got the spine of a 90-year-old.
Wow. Apparently, it's 89 now.
It's gone down.
So having a leap year coming up soon's really helped.
Carl may have a spine of a 90-year-old, but an attitude of a 60-year-old.
On StreamYard. So we're using StreamYard to get everybody in.
The problem with the Neo is that you can't run Clipper on it without soldering parts of the board. Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
So what? How does that work though? So what? It hasn't got a. It hasn't got a.
It has a USB on it, but it's the main chip on it is hard coded.
Right. Okay. Got you.
You cannot. The downside with the Cobra Neo is you can't use community firmware. You have to use official firmware.
So they've just released their new. Is it the K2, Phil? Anycubic.
Yeah.
Saying that it's going to be doing, I don't know, 600 millimeters a second, something crazy.
Something like that, yeah.
They've literally just redesigned the hot end a little bit.
That's it.
But then, like, King Rune have got the Core XY coming out now.
Yeah, I was looking at that the other day. I don't get why they've not put a screen on it. I did call them out on that. I just and their answer was, well, it wasn't really.
Yeah, their answer was something like, "Well, it's got Clipper and you can print via USB." And it's like, well, first of all, if you've got Clipper on it, then actually you can't print via USB. So that's not really true. But because you need one plugged into the USB to be able to run it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, look, if you've got Clipper, then I guess you don't really need an interface. But that being said, having a touch, so I've put a touch screen on my rat rig, not because I need a screen, but frankly, whenever I have Wi-Fi issues, which is actually quite often with a Pi, it's so much easier being able to do things directly on the rat rig screen than it is having to mess about trying to SSH into the Pi and everything else. It's a real pain.
Yeah, it's one of the that's one of the reasons why I stopped using OcuPrint. It was just doing me head in, just having to log in and then upload.
The KLP1 has no proper hot end.
And if anyone's got any questions about the K1, Mr. Sam Prentice has one.
Yeah, well,
I did have
half of one.
Yeah,
I was going to say he's got half of one.
Till it fell apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I reached out to them the other day, Creality, they said there's some design flaws, so they're holding back for a bit.
Some design
flaw,
occasionally, it just falls apart.
Yeah, I said I know.
That design flaw, are we?
I know what the design flaw is.
Sam says he's got 15 minutes if you want him to drop in.
Yeah, sure. Give me 1 second.
Apparently, he's got his hoodie on.
Oh, gee. As long as he's got something other than his hoodie
on. That's it.
Fine.
That's the issue.
Fool me once, shame on you, but fool me twice. Hold on.
I got to play the K1 Max
Rapid. Talk with Creality for about 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours talking to Creality. Jesus.
Yeah.
They must have had to have brought in all the people that designed their printers for them to finish the conversation. That must have been a nightmare for them.
I'm interested in the K1 Max. Definitely.
I want to get my hands on a K1 Max as well and kind of run it through its paces like I did with my Ender 3. I did everything from running calibration all the way up to my big old dragon.
Did they speak
Carl,
in English, Akuma? Because when Sam spoke to him, he had to wait for the translation.
Here he is, Mr. Prentice. Hold on. Here's trouble.
Hey.
That looks freshly put on.
I felt like
no creases on
we
it.
Talking about was relevant to me just for a second then, because I've got the Cobra 2
you got
here.
the replacement.
You've had it a while, haven't you?
We've had this sitting here for a month. The video's done. Comes out on the 15th. But there is one thing with it that I don't agree with, and they said that it will print at 250 millimeters per second, and it will on the extremities, but it won't do that fully. So a lot of companies out there that are massaging numbers, let's put it politely. Creality K1 is one of them, certainly. And I think people trying to join the whole kind of fastest printer bandwagon, that's going to be one of those things. The Sovo SV7 though apparently does print at 250 with Clipper, and that's in the hallway. That's in the hallway at the moment. But you're quite right with the K1. There are a number of flaws with it, and oh god, this is so bad. Creality have asked me to remove my videos that basically state that I've had this problem.
You got lucky booted.
Oh,
so Weebooks offered to pay me to remove the videos for the Weebook, for the Lucky Bot printer.
Yeah. And this is amidst me being in a meeting with Creality, talking about Mirth and doing something with them at Mirth. And the video had already been out 6 days. And I'm like, okay, so they're willing to pay me for this and that and the other, and being in Chicago and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'm down with that. Then I get this message, and I need to call you. I need to speak to you. And I was like, I'm driving. And she's like, can we go on a video call? And she said, no. And I was like, no, because I'm driving. And anyway, she sort of messaged me, and I don't think they wanted to put anything in writing. That was basically what that was about. And
they've seen your scamming video.
Exactly, yeah. But I kind of got in between the lines. It was, I kind of felt like if you didn't take the video down, then we're probably not going to be favorites, to work with you. And they're like, oh, my manager says that you prefer other brands, and I was like, I prefer brands that work. This is the upshot of the whole thing. And one of the main issues with all this is, I could do a video and go, hey, this is what Creality's just said to me. They want me to take my videos down because they're right. And and all of a sudden now I feel like crap because of the whole thing. And I don't know, it's a weird, you get into a really weird conundrum when you've got an opinion on something. And K1 especially is such a hot potato right now because people are, there's only a few people that have actually got them. God only knows how I managed to get one. I mean, seriously, there was a lot of issues that had happened up to that with me and Creality, and we were they reached out and said, can we build bridges? And I was like, sure. So they sent me the CRM4, they sent me the S5, they sent me their new range lineup, and they said, we've got this new Clipper printer coming out. And then, of course, I get it out of the box, and I realized straight away that it's already locked down. You can't get SSH into it. There are certain things on it that, like the 6mm belts, 9mm pulleys. There's a load of stuff there that's, you can just see it being typical Creality. Here's a new product, but we're not going to support it. See you later, guys. Good luck with the community, and we're going to go off and do something else. And you can already get that feeling from it.
It's hard because the problem is it's a situation that we've created as a community, right? Which is that Creality don't really support the C series or most of the Ender series. It is the community that's been created that comes along and creates the modifications and creates everything else to an extent where when they bring out the S1 Pro, all they've really done is scrolled through their Facebook feed for the last 6 months, figured out all the stuff that people have done and just make that. And they rely heavily on the community to support and deal with their printers and deal with the issues and come up with solutions and everything else. And then they go, oh, yeah, haven't we got a great community? And it's like, yeah, well, no. I mean, yes, you do have a great community, but not one of your own creation. Don't make it seem like this is something that you meant to have happen. This is a situation.
Did you take the video down, Sam?
Well, no, it's not been banned. I took one of the shorts down because that's what we originally agreed on. And then she came back and she said they wanted more. And it just kind of ended up kind of feeling like, okay, and they're like, don't get angry about it. And I'm like, it's not that I'm angry about it. I know how many subs I've got off that video. I know how much revenue, and I'm not in this just to, just have fun and roll around on the floor. doing the K1 stuff, right, I got more criticism, more harsh words, more put downs than any other printing manufacturing video that I've ever done. And I was just like, Jesus, like this is just supposed to be fun. You know, this isn't, for me, it's not really real life. You know, it's just 3D printing. It's an engineering product. And to have some of the words and language that's been put across to me is just unbelievable from whatever this fantastic community is. I know it's only a small proportion of people, but
I mean, when I say fantastic community, I mean active community. Because with any large community, it's exactly the same with the Prusa community as it is with most of them. It's, I mean, to be honest, so there's two communities, one of which is going down very quickly, which is the bamboo community. And that is, as soon as you say, hey, I got my bamboo and it's got a slight scuff in it, and they go, do you know what? I bet when you're not posting your nonsense on Facebook, you're just punching dogs straight in the face. And you're like, what? Like, and they just go, yeah, you just don't know how to use it properly. And I'm like, all I'm saying is that they could have perhaps packaged it a little bit better, or used a different courier. And they're like, do you know what? If you're not willing to jump on a plane and fly over to there and get your own printer and then bring it back paying for its own seat, you don't even deserve to breathe, let alone use a 3D printer.
I seen in the groups there about the Hydra with Joel.
Yes.
And the comments on that post were just like, wow.
It's horrendous as well. And, you know, I kind of feel like, you know, Creality are in that same kind of bandwidth with that whole situation, is that they don't want to see somebody doing something negative. So my response to that was like, you told me you'd get me another printer within 5 days. They're now saying, well, look, there's more problems than we first had thought. So you'll be one of the first of the second run. And I'm like, okay, so can you just send me a new hot end then, or the enclosure part that's broken, so I can carry on printing and carry on showing various things, knowing full well that this is going to be modified? No. I said, if you want me to take the video down, I said, you need to get me a new replacement printer so I can show all the good stuff and give it a fundamental mixed review. And they just didn't like that. And they were like, they're talking next month now, so that means the Max is going to be pushed back. But what I will say, though, in the interest of contrast, Bamboo Labs also had issues with their first printers. They did, but they did do rigorous testing in their lab, and you know, you can see that there's plenty of footage online about that. And you know, they have very much looked after me, Bamboo Lab. So I can't say that they haven't. So that, you know, Creality saying to me, hey, well, you know, you're favoring other manufacturers, our competitors. And I'm like, well, I'm not really favoring anybody. I will work with whoever wants to work with me. And if they want to work with me more, then I'm going to work with them more. Of course I am. You know, it's just
whoever greases the palm more.
Yeah. And I don't mean that from a monetary point of view, but if someone sends you 6 bamboo printers, you know, what are you going to do? You go, oh, that's nice. Thanks very much. Now I'm going to set them up. I'm going to use them, and I'm going to show what I can make in, you know, the droids I've been pumping out normally takes 6-12 weeks to make one of these things. I'm doing them in 4 days. So that's really the key differences there. And, you know, speedy printers, I know, you know, Joseph Prusa came out, and I've said this a few times now. Joseph Prusa said he values quality prints, mechanically quality prints over speed. And I'm like, yeah, well, so do I. But there's got to be a balance with that. And sitting doing the same things at 60 millimeters per second that you've done for the last 6 years isn't progress, isn't moving forward. And I think all of these companies doing these Core XY machines are, you know, fundamentally
changing. A race of speed.
Yeah, exactly. It is. You know, QD, those guys sent me that free Max thing, which was just an absolute shocker. And essentially now it's a paperweight because they said, oh, just don't bother messing around with it anymore. I'm like, okay. You know, am I a beta tester is what I asked him. And he went, yeah, we've got some problems with this. Wait for the announcement. And then the announcement came out, and basically it's like having a tumble dryer in your house because it's so full of air, but you can't do anything physically with it. It's got mean wells on it though. So, you know, stick it on the Voron, stick it on the rat rig, you know, however it ends up running out. But yeah, it's a real shame. But, you know, again, like I said before,
Creality have got a history of doing this though.
Oh God, yeah. They don't learn. They never learn their lesson. They never learn their lesson.
But as well, I think the problem is they have such a large market share. This is the conversation I was having with someone on TikTok the other day, where I said, look, there is a reality that if they are able to produce a decent Core XY in the K1 Max and the K1, they will dominate the market for quite some time because A, they can ship at volume. B, they can undercut pretty much every single one of their competitors, regardless of profit margin, because they don't care. And C, they have enough of a market presence to mean that they can blast that printer out there on a lot of different channels, on a lot of different social media.
It's too late, James.
They
too late.
reached out to us.
Bamboo have not been complacent. Bamboo are not just sitting there going, do you know what? We've done a couple of printers now. That'll be all right. They're making waves. They're still pushing forward with things. And what will happen is, and what you'll see is, by the time Creality try and almost get K1 right, Bamboo will then just drop a bomb. It'd be a proper mic drop moment, and and walk away from it. And that's the market we're now in. It is a dog eat dog, and I think actually that competitiveness is really, really healthy.
It drives on other companies to do better.
Exactly. Well, Will from Bamboo, he was on the Creality stream the other week, and I had messages from him afterwards, and he was just like, I really hope he does well, because you need to have that. It's a bit like old wrestling, WWF versus WCW. Those two companies coming together and really sort of, the Monday Night Wars and all that kind of stuff that they used to do back in the day. Those rivalries are things that really sort of drive people. And of course, communities are led off the back of that as, well, I don't like Bamboo because they're this, that, and the other. They're close source. Well, I don't like Creality. Oh, actually, they're also close source. All those kinds of things that people love and hate, and all the rest of it.
I think it was interesting when so Prusa obviously brought out the Mark IV, which is savagely underwhelming, if I'm honest. I mean, again, so we recently did a video. It's coming out soon. The contest of champions. So we did a V400 up against a Prusa, up against an Anker Make M5, up against the X1, and we did speed tests and vase tests and things like that, torture toasters, sound tests to try and show where everybody is. And we were using they were using the Prusa Mark III Plus S Mac 3 Turbo Elite, or whatever it was, but one before the Mark IV. And it was really surprising actually how it showed how much that machine in of itself,
how underwhelming the Prusa was.
Yeah, how underwhelming it was, and how much.
Tell me this: do you know if it's still using an E3D hot end?
Do you know? I don't think they are. I thought they were original. I thought so. The Mark IV. So we didn't test the Mark IV, and we haven't had one. I do not think the new one has the. I thought it was going to have a Revo in it, but I don't.
I think it's using a Trilabs.
I think it is.
I think it might be. I don't.
Yeah, I thought it is. And of course, that relationship between Prusa and E3D is also very, very special. So very interesting. And again, business is business, and you never know where another company is going to go if they don't get what they want out of that last.
The thing is Prusa's had some savage issues with supply chain recently. So bearing in mind they obviously print all their own parts inside. But they've had some real problems with main boards. They've had some real problems with chipsets. They've had some real problems in supply chain. I don't know. So they did have an E3. They had an E3D hot end on the Prusa XL. And I don't know if part of the delay of getting the XL off the ground was that they potentially had some issues with supply chain with E3D, and that influenced their decision with the Mark IV. It's very possible. I'm surprised that they stuck with a Cartesian, if I'm honest. I kind of expected them to go for probably not. I didn't expect them to go for a Core XY, but I expected to perhaps see something similar to like the Trident from Voron, where it's a core.
Well, maybe they just needed to put something out in order to not be completely stale within the marketplace, and that that could be a play. Listen, anyway, guys, lovely to see you all. I've got to run though, so
thanks for dropping in.
Thanks for letting me drop in. I'll see you guys
soon.
See you later.
Bye.
So Paul's saying the Mark IV is Revo based hot end. Oh, okay, fair enough.
I think it is. Yeah, I've just looked. It is.
Yeah.
Put in the other nice power.
Triangle Labs as well. They bought. Did they buy Triangle Labs?
Yeah, they did.
They went on a little spending spree, didn't they? Just post-COVID, they went on.
And yeah, they're doing the PCBs in-house now as well.
Right.
So they're doing their own boards.
Which again makes sense. To be clear, just assembling those PCBs still doesn't necessarily solve their supply chain issue, because their supply chain issue was silicon. So it was actually getting their AM64 chips that they used. So they were really struggling with as everybody was struggling getting silicon. I mean, look, we're still not back in a world where you can pick up a Raspberry Pi for a decent amount of money.
No, you're looking like $200 for a Raspberry Pi,
which is insane, and completely defeats the purpose of having a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
I saw that Big Tree Tech's come out with their own, though, haven't they? So they've come out with their own ARM-based. What is it? It's the BT. It's supposed to be based off a Pi 4, and you can effectively you can use it as direct plug into their board, and it's pretty much an all-in-one solution to going off and getting whatever you want in theory.
So why we're talking about really fast prints? So I've spoken about 24/7 printing before, because he's like the Voron king. If you go on his TikTok, you'll see the V01. Is it the V01 new one? I can't remember the newer model they've got out now.
Right.
You want to see the speed he is printing at? It is insane.
Yes, I saw it.
He did a vase.
It was something. It was something silly, like it was something like 1,500 millimeters a second or something.
I blinked.
Like that.
I blinked.
The only person I've seen printing at a similar speed is VZBot. So the VZBot is really cool. So it uses a CPAP machine to like a sleep apnea machine as it's hot end cooling.
That's similar to what some assembly required. Deadly Sketch. That's what he's done.
But like I really like watching the 24/7's channel, because he really goes, like where we're explaining about a printer, or it does this and it does that. He goes into all the scientific side of things, like geeky stuff, and it does it really well.
It's one of the areas that Bamboo sent a lot of review units out, though. So you're right, Collie. They did. They sent out about 70 units before they posted their
Kickstarter campaign. Best marketing ever done in printing.
I mean, they really controlled their launch of how they planned out their launch really, really carefully. They lined up loads of media. They lined up loads of influencers. They lined up loads of people. To be clear, they also put out a really good product. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that my Bamboo is absolutely perfect. Unless you're doing really basic designs, I've found ludicrous mode to be basically useless. There's almost no point in using it unless what you're doing is really, really simple, and you're only doing one of them. If you're doing multi-part prints, I've found ludicrous to be pretty much pointless. Can't use TPU in the AMS, which admittedly they advertise, but at the same time, it's still kind of annoying. It's still really loud. There are some discussions at the moment around their choices for carbon rods, whether or not they've obviously done it from a lightweight perspective. That's why they've done it. But there's a lot of people who are saying if ultimately you're using this as a workhorse day in, day out to churn out prints all the time, then actually carbon rods they wear.
Yeah, I've noticed there's a lot of issues now.
At that point, I would go with a lightweight magnesium or an aluminium rod.
And that's been the topic really in the group in the last couple of weeks. Is so
someone did
8 months. It's warped. They're bent. They're wearing down.
Someone did a mod. They took out their rods and they replaced them with tool steel rods.
Yeah,
and effectively, they put out a modification to say that they can do this. They can't do the ridiculously high speeds anymore. But again, if your machine's printing at 200 millimeters a second stock, you're doing all right. Like,
it's 4 times quicker than a normal.
Akuma just posted in the chat. That's because the AMS has a larger diameter PTFE tube that allows smoother retraction. And if you were using TPU or any super flexible material, you would bind it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't debate that. Doesn't change the fact that it's a little bit irritating, to be honest. I would like to be able to use the AMS. It's a pain in the arse having to change it over. Tech 2C, that's it. Yeah. Tech 2C, they were the ones who did the rods. And I want to be clear, they did the mod they did was really good. They did a really good job, and they changed it all out. They didn't modify any. They obviously changed the bearings, but they didn't modify anything else. They did the modification. It was really, they did a really good job on it.
Matter Hacker is actually selling the Hydra on their website now, so you can have it in
I know that
or ABS.
Little post, wasn't it? As well, when someone put that up, they were like, "Oh."
So they're selling it now alongside the Bamboo when they're selling them now, so you can have it as an add-on. But you're not allowed to talk about that in the group, are you? So
that gets banned. I mean, look, I get it, right? You know, they don't want in the official Bamboo thing, in the official Bamboo threads, they don't want people necessarily talking about unofficial mods, and they don't even like people posting about. Have you seen the really cool magnetic build plates you can get that have got like a they've got like almost a holographic finish?
And they go on the bottom.
Yeah, looks amazing when it's done. It gives like a really cool finish.
Oh, like the P flats.
Is it that?
So
those are like the little stickers that you just put on. They're like a vinyl that like transfer
holographics on them.
Those are P flats.
Yeah,
those are P flats.
But Bamboo didn't like people posting about that. They didn't like posting about the other ones as well. If someone paid £1,000 for a printer, it should just work. And Square Peg, to be clear, it does. I have done 0 modifications to my Bamboo.
Bamboo has done thousands of hours by now.
Yeah. I've turned out a lot on it.
Mindseed Tech's made a good point there that the K1 or any other Bamboo competitor needs to have the equivalent of an AMS. There isn't anyone that has released that now. So you're going to pay £550-600 for the K1 entry. You're going to be paying nearly £900 for the K1 Max.
So I think they should have an AMS offering, but the reality is 90% of what I print, I have no need of an AMS.
Right? That's like me. I print single color or rainbow or dual color.
The caveat is that I can queue up 2 or 3 of the same color, and I can have it transition between the AMS slots, which is cool, but I didn't ask for. And frankly, when I've done my other machines, I normally have a large spool holder that sits above the top and like, you know, and then goes down. I think there needs to be a good all-round AMS for all. So there are a couple. So exactly like that. And then you just buy a big roll. Yeah.
That's a 3 kilo.
Yeah. So
it's strapped to the roof using it. I can put a 5K up there.
Yeah.
That's using zip ties.
Kilos. The only issue we had with 5 kilos was when the supplier that we had switched over to they only did matte filament, and it was more abrasive than normal PLA. And we were starting to wear through nozzles quicker. And the other issue was they changed over to cardboard spools. And when you've got 5 kilos pulling on a cardboard spool, like, not being funny, it's not ideal. So
no.
So we ended up making stands, didn't we, for the 5 kilo rolls?
Yeah,
James, you've missed out,
didn't you, Mike?
Yeah.
You've missed out several times now. Every time you say reality and you're talking about creality, you keep missing that, you know, transition step there. Reality really is that it is creality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are they really wanting to have essentially what a lot of people are claiming the K1 or K1 Max to be, like a Bamboo killer, but instead it's a clone essentially of a Bamboo. They've seen this really amazing printer that is out there getting all the rave and all the hype, and then turning around. Yeah, and they want the piece of that pie.
Yeah.
The thing is, Creality brought out the Ender 7, which was, I would say, their real entry into Core XY. Because
for me, the Ender 7 was them. So again, let's remember that Creality haven't designed one of their own printers in the last
5 years.
In the last,
wasn't the last one that they did was the Ender 2 Pro?
Yeah,
and if they did that,
and to be clear, most of the Ender 2 Pro, even the upgrades to their boards were just them once again scrolling through their Facebook feed and figuring out everything that all the community started to do, and they started to incorporate some of those things. So I agree. The thing with Creality is that they have that brand presence to mean that when they bring something out, they can push something mainstream. They've had a really disconnected line recently that is very obviously them just dipping their toe into various designs to see what they can get that's popular. Bamboo came along and they made a really good printer out of the gate, and it is a really good printer. It's a little small for my liking. It's a little loud for my liking.
Dude, that thing sounds like an F-14 taking off.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah. It's not as bad as a P1P. Like, I genuinely, so because I work in here as well as having the printers going, I actually couldn't have a P1P because I'd need to buy the auxiliary cooling fan. Most of the parts that I do have pretty significant overhangs. I couldn't do without the extra part cooling. And between that fan noise and the noise a P1P makes, even if I printed my own panels, I would have an issue very quickly with the amount of noise that it was making. You know, what the printers were not designed to be silent, and they've never claimed to be. So it's not really a criticism because I'm criticizing a feature that they never claimed to have. The same with TPU and the AMS. They never claimed that the AMS would do TPU. The machine does TPU, but the AMS doesn't.
But they gave you the option, didn't they, on the back to put your TPU on?
Yeah, well, the AMS at all. Yeah,
they've gone down the route. If you go through, like, we'll go back to 24/7 printing. Like, he was really the first one I seen with real part calling on the case on his Voron V01, where he had calling, and Bamboo have put that onto their printers, and that is going to give noise because you are. I can't remember what he said, but he says he's having to overcool to be able to print at that speed for it not to warp.
He's having to cool near enough as he's having to cool at point of nozzle. So normally what you're doing when you're part cooling, normally what you're trying to do is cool the filament once it's been laid down. He's having on the VZ bot, because of the speeds that he's printing, that cooling isn't enough. So what he has to do is he actually has to he has to start the cooling process of the filament when it leaves the nozzle. So before it's even gone down, he's supposed to be someone eating a bag of crisps.
Sorry, I was trying to be as quick.
I was like
literally everyone could do
it's a cookie, sorry.
He's having a hobnob.
But they have it. But so
he's eating a biscuit.
VZBot is doing a similar thing. So VZBot is trying to cool out the nozzle so that he can bring that to, because as well, to get the flow rate that he needs, he's having to crank the temperature higher anyway. So
I was just gonna say, if you're nozzle cooling, you're gonna have to go twice the amount of heating.
Yeah,
just to keep from a thermal runaway.
So he's done a lot of different mods, right? So he's done full water cooled hot end pieces.
I've seen those.
Peppers. Really, really cool. Again, to be clear, the only reason, in my opinion, that you need a water cooled hot end is if your printer is enclosed and you are trying to do higher temperature filaments. You have a warm enclosure, and as a result of that, you cannot air cool because the air you're trying to pass through is all at like 100 degrees anyway. So there's not really a way to cool it. I absolutely agree. There is a place and time for water-cooled hot ends. I don't think the vast majority, if someone's putting a water-cooled hot end on their Ender 3, then I'm sorry, you just drive it. You know, you're just a Porsche driver at that point. Like you're just doing it.
In the US, that would be you're just driving a Honda.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say a Porsche driver. You're driving a Honda. But no, so the way I see the Bamboo is they've seen, all the several different enclosures, the Vorons, the rat rigs, everything else like that. They also have, you have the mosaic pallets out there. And that's essentially what I'm seeing as the AMS but it's not splicing the filament. You are running several rolls. Yeah. But that's what I see. And then you have they're like, okay, well, we like this. We're going to grab this. We want this idea. Oh, they have this too. We're going to grab this. Now we're going to try to mush everything together and make it one seamless, coherent part.
But that's what they've done really well, though.
Yeah.
They've taken the best of something off the Voron or some of Prusa or whatever, and they've made it work.
So it's actually something that was mentioned in the chat earlier that when Voron decided, when Bamboos decided they were going to start trying to submit patents for some of the things that they've done, some of their printing tech, the patents they submitted still had Voron logos on them.
Yeah.
Where they'd taken initial CAD designs and step files and they'd modified them to make what they were making. Now, just to be clear, once again, there's nothing wrong with that. The Voron is open source. The problem is when you start trying to claim IP over something that you've built off of an open source design, right?
If it's open source, you need to leave it open source.
Absolutely.
And just state that, yes, if this is a modification of an open source with, certain mods, and you have to state what your modifications were, whether it's BIOS level mods, whether it's G-code mods or anything else like that, you were supposed to state them in the patent, so that way there you can be classified as a reproduction or a modification.
I think the problem is that because so many of the companies come directly out of China and Taiwan, there is a very, very different commercial attitude in Asia Pac than there is in the rest of the world. So the business it's very similar to the conversation I've had with people about customer support, right?
Oh God!
In America and the UK and most of Europe, customer support is not a nice to have. You are legally obligated to make sure the customer gets what they want. That is not the case in China. There are no consumer laws in China that protect people, and the ones that do only protect Chinese citizens. They do not protect international people or international citizens. So they're really so when a Chinese company offers support, they are not doing so because they are legally required to do it. They are only doing it because that is what is expected by their Western clients. And it's the reason why so many of them are so bad at it, because they actually don't have any experience, for the most part, setting up those kinds of things. You're right, Carl.
Yeah.
Is Carl ever really all right, especially after the failed dragon?
He was moving around really well there, so I feel like he might be faking his injuries.
I was going to say, you wait, Carl. This video is going to be in your PIP assessment. You're going to be screwed. You're going to take your obesical away.
But James, I will say though, with in the year that I've been printing, there's been I wouldn't be able to have this discussion last year.
No.
I was literally asking so many questions last year about this time, actually, because yesterday is when I would have finished my dragon. That video just came back up. I posted it too. I reposted that video. But and now I can speak, on what I've done, as well as the modifications, like my Ender. I hacked the main board on the Ender. I overclocked it to 1.1 gigahertz out of the 500 kilobit per second, 500 megahertz that it was running.
Yeah.
I have done several different shunt mods on the main board just to be able to increase the speeds. And I was able to do a benchy in 16 minutes on an Ender 3 with stock. Well, granted, I did upgrade all the motors, all the steppers, all the end stops. Essentially, the only thing left that's an Ender, the only thing left literally is the Ender, is the frame and the bed. That's it.
So not really the same at all then.
No.
But what you're saying though is, and it is true, the Ender 3, like you said, James, is the best gateway to this hobby, whatever people. But it's also the best gateway to learn how to mod or repair.
100%.
It's a very versatile platform, and you always know that the base of what you're working from fundamentally probably works, and that you can iteratively go through and make changes, and providing that you don't go out and try and do everything big bang, you can even then figure out where you went wrong.
I fitted a new hot end. It doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Okay, so I went and I changed it to direct drive. So I haven't done I haven't done my E-step calibration, or I haven't changed over my thermistor type because I've gone over to an induction hot end or whatever. And you can iteratively go through and improve and change. And then when things go wrong on your 1,200 pound machine, you already fundamentally know
the steps you need to take,
what the steps you need to do, the things that have gone wrong. And Collie's right. It's very similar to the old days of building a PC. Now you build a PC. If you build it yourself, you've got half a chance. I mean, I say half a chance of figuring out why things don't work. I mean, Windows does a pretty good job of it.
Dude, I was just going to say that Windows, that's 99% of the problem right there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Every time Windows does an update and it says, don't worry, your files are exactly where you left them. I'm like, that's exactly what a person who's moved all my files would say. Like,
I keep all my importance on an external or on the server.
Yeah.
Because you are right. That's it. It's what the hobby is. But you buy a bamboo because it does what it does out of the box. When it's not broken or damaged or scratched.
There's a thing to remember, right? There are different people who pick up the hobby for different reasons.
Yeah.
If you are somebody who is running an Etsy store and you are trying to 3D print, I don't know, minis for a Space Cowboy game that we're not allowed to mention for copyright reasons, but let's say that you're doing miniatures for that, and you're selling those on.
I'm not painting a Space Cowboy that I printed.
No, you wouldn't be, because that would be illegal, and we don't do illegal things like that. So, so if you're printing things for Etsy, then what you don't want to buy is a Voron. Because a Voron requires you to constantly put it up on a bench and play about with it and fiddle with it and fettle with it, and new things come out and you do revisions and changes and upgrades and everything else. And that's what you spend a lot of your time doing. Some people get into model trains because they like watching trains go round. Some of them like it because they like building scenery. Some of them like building models. Some of them like building completely different, really perfectly synchronized routes and everything else. People get into the hobby for different reasons. And there is a reality that not everybody who wants to buy a machine wants to have to learn all the ins and outs of it. I don't genuinely really understand the fundamentals of how my inkjet printer works. I understand the principles in theory, and if it runs out of ink, then I change it. But if my printer breaks, I don't go, well, I'll bust an Allen key set out and I'll try and fix it. I immediately go down to the local beach and I throw it into the ocean. And then I go and pick up another printer from the shop for like $40.
And that is it. What Bamboo has done is made like the Etsy stores more feasible, because you can invest in that printer instead of being able to get, a Dragon out in 36 hours on an Ender 3. You're getting it out in 14 hours. You can get two printed in 24 hours.
Bamboo's speed is about workflow. It's about producing commercial quality parts that you are. In fact, I've got some,
and that's it. It's about money.
Right? To tap in on what James was saying. The commercially available parts for your patrons at a reasonable cost.
Yeah,
but after say 6 months of using the Bamboo, your Etsy store is essentially paid for your Bamboo.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but if we take these for example, right? These are Voron parts. They are ABS. They were done in the cheapest ABS you can buy. I think it was like £9 a kilo. There is zero warpage. They are as good as you would need them to be to sell them. These are printed in sport mode, and I can do a full Voron tool head in 18 hours.
And how much do they sell for?
5 tool heads a week. You can sell those for around £120 each on Etsy. They take about 350 to 400 grams of filament. They do not require supports for the vast majority of them, and you could be knocking those out at a fairly advanced rate with just one machine and start.
Okay.
2 weeks, so you would have paid for your X1.
Yeah,
and now, that's the difference with people, though, isn't it? It's being smart. If you're doing that side, like us, we don't get an X1 to sell parts online. We get printers because we do it for a hobby. Mike likes to paint little figures, and it's what people do. Like, he's obsessed frozen resin printers. Mike, you love them, don't you?
I love them. Yeah,
and it's changed
literally,
your work.
They're just you turn them on, and I've actually got a build plate on the Mega at the minute.
And your workflow's changed. You're painting
if I can work out to share my screen, I'll show you the build plate. There is not a spare millimeter on the build plate. It's about 7 hours in. I paused it just before this to see if it was printing, and every single part is printing.
Do that on an FDM printer. You'd be up all night waiting for those first 5-6 layers.
Yeah.
Oh, most definitely. That's what I was just gonna say. I'll raise James for his Voron parts. Printed in the ABS when you can get ABS resin. And
so the reason for that, the reason why I don't use ABS resin and the reason why it's a problem is because on the Voron hot end you have to use heated inserts, and most of the resins will not melt when you try to put the heated inserts in. They are also, although they are ABS like, they do have a tendency to be more brittle over time.
Now, there are screen on this
so if you take on the hot end, for example, there is a clip that literally physically clips down over a screw that goes through, and that's what holds your tension handle in place. And it has to physically clip. It was one of the issues that people had when. I think it was Vicetech who started doing. They started doing everything for a Voron in aluminium, and everyone came on and said, just to be clear, first of all, an aluminium tool head for a Voron is way too heavy to be moving around.
There you go. That's what's on the Mega at the minute.
Oh wow! Damn.
So
look,
that is not not a single millimeter wasted.
And that's the difference with a resin printer, isn't it? You can do that, hit print, and walk away.
And it still does it in the same time as one item.
And because it's based off the Z height. So that tallest piece right there in the back, that's what the timing is going off of.
Yeah. There's 30 pieces on that.
Yeah. So iFun.
And that's a Titan. That's a Titan.
I had a message off iFun yesterday, James. They've got a nylon resin out now.
Oh, okay. So that might have a little bit more give to it.
So I'm trying to get them to send some bottles to you guys.
The problem is that it won't melt, so you won't be able to put your heated.
I got a trick.
Go on.
You place your heated inserts before you cure, because your resin is still soft enough that you can slide those in to be able to grip it.
So you would need to. So the way that the size of the holes that are there at the moment are not large. So you'd have to modify the STLs to print in resin.
Nope.
You'd need to make the holes slightly larger. I'm going to show you. The holes at the moment aren't anywhere big enough to be able. You'd either have to drill them out, or you'd have to.
Well, use the drain holes, haven't you?
Use the drain holes. Set them as your depth of sizing for your inserts, and so then at that point you have a reference point of where your inserts need to go.
What you could probably do is, like James said, modify it. You could probably take the top layer off of where those inserts go and have like somewhere a little base where it sits in.
Expand the hole a little bit. That's all. So they're designed for M3, so I think they're 5 mil, and the hole is literally 3 mil. Now, when you're melting ABS, that's not a problem because you can just push it in and it will just either burn out or it will just melt the ABS away. But when you're trying to do resin, the resin won't melt. So you could make those holes a little bigger.
Yeah.
And then you're right. You could put them in and then cure it. And then between the expansion and the wet resin that was in there, you would probably get pretty solid into. It's a repeatable thread, right? That's the thing. So I mean, the issue that we had the other day when we were talking about the Lurge printer that we were doing, we had the Lurge X1 up on the deck, which is a Prusa mini clone. The issue is that half of the fixings that you use are self tappers, which is the most redneck way to attach anything to anything.
I feel personally attacked on that redneck one.
And if no one's watched the videos, the amount of times James mentioned this,
honestly,
go back and watch it and come back with how many times he said.
One or two, wasn't it?
It's more than once. So the problem is a self tapper is pretty much one and done.
Self tapper has a job.
Yeah,
and into plastic is not one.
Yeah.
No.
It's not a
Self-tapping for
repeatable thread.
That's what they're for.
It's not a repeatable thread. There were different solutions they could have come up with to that. The first and foremost was literally have it so there was a slot where you could push in a nylock nut so that you could screw that in, and bang, you've got a repeatable thread straight out the gate. You could have had it so that heated inserts could have gone in, and then bang, you've got a repeatable thread. There are many different ways that they could have done that didn't involve using a self-tapper, and unfortunately they used it way too many times. And we're talking about things like attaching the screen. Well, you need to take the screen off from time to time. Like, it's a part that needs to move out of the way for you to be able to get to the main board and everything else. So to have that as a non-repeatable thread, not okay. It's just bad. It's just lazy design more than anything else.
And so I think so for me, once I actually am getting ready to order some heat press inserts because I'm going to be doing the Mighty Morphin Dragon Zord out of resin.
Yeah. Yep.
And instead of having some of the parts just heat glue, like glued on or anything, I actually want to screw them in because there's a few LED lights that you can get to screw in.
Right.
I'm going to be placing the self-tap in, or not self-taps, but the heat press inserts into the chest cavity to get the lights to work.
So
I'm going to be running
counter option. Why don't you make? Why don't you use magnets?
Yeah,
and use a positive and negative magnet connection.
And run with the wireless LEDs.
And you don't even need to. Well, I mean, you can run with wireless LEDs if you want to put it on a QI base, but literally have it where you solder a positive and negative wire to the back of two of the magnets and a positive and negative to the other. And when they join together with magnets, that will complete the connection. And you'll have yourself a lot. And it will even work where you can leave the battery on. And then as you are adding parts to it, each part will light up individually.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like with clock spring.
Yes. See, I'm not just a pretty face. I have loads of cool ideas. Although saying that, actually, as soon as you heat up the magnets to solder stuff on, I think you'll probably demagnetize them. So you'd have to remagnetize them again.
But these
magnets
are popular with clock spring.
Sorry,
these. So these are the magnets that Clock Spring uses a lot for his. I've got
those are the neodymium, right?
Yeah. Neodymiums. They've got a nice amount of pull. They'll hold the parts together. You can put them in flush. You can even, you can make the holes for them with the dig tool in Chitu Box. Doesn't require anything special there. And if the model's already hollow, you've just got to figure out how you're going to feed the wire through the inside to be able to pull them out where you need to, and then glue the magnets in. And then you've got when you attach the two parts together, completes the connection, and bang, you've got yourself light up LED parts that light up as you join them together. No fiddling with. Because the problem is, if you do screw, you've got to have access to where that screw is.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be somewhere. There's going to. I mean, okay, if you're doing like a robot, it's going to have screws in it. Do you know what I mean? They're not held together with magic.
Actually, no. These ones here have little, and this is where I was testing out with this part. So you see where it has the holes on the. So my autofocus moved.
Yeah.
So the press fits for that one there, I did those out of resin as well. Well, I cured them before I got them to push in.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't flex. So now, and then I ended up snapping the, because this is a dice tower.
Yeah.
And it's a dual set dice tower, so you can drop both your dice at the same time. And so now my revision of that is I'm going to set that in before curing.
Yeah.
That way they're slightly a little bit more flexible instead of rigid and hard.
Yeah. You might even be better placed to do it just before washing as well. Because there'd be a little bit of extra resin in your hole, and as you press it in, you'll squeeze all the extra resin out, and it'll create a little. There'll be a degree of suction in there as well as when the resin cures, it'll almost cure the thing in place.
As much as I love resin, I still not found a resin that over time doesn't break, doesn't become brittle, doesn't like.
Oh, my Sunloo stuff's fine. So I use JO resin. Most of the stuff that I've got doesn't get
doesn't get that brittle. If anything, the thing that gets most brittle for me is that we use acrylocylate super glue for joining our stuff together, and that's actually what tends to shatter. If we drop stuff or we take stuff anywhere, it's actually the super glue that becomes brittle, and those joints separate. Which, at the end of the day, isn't the worst thing in the world, because that way, when those joints break, you can join them back together again at the point where they're supposed to be, rather than a part just shattering into a billion pieces, and you then have to do the ancient Japanese art of whatever it is of putting things back together with gold.
Unless it's a Titan.
Well, yeah,
unless it's a Titan, in which case that's very sad. Yeah,
that Titan jumped.
Give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to be right back.
Yeah, no worries. So, Phil, what have you got on the go at the moment?
Mainly just been working on that ferret, to be fair, trying to get some scans. Yeah. I haven't had much luck with the PC side of it, to be honest with you. It keeps crashing. So I've
heard this before from somewhere.
Yeah, I've been in contact with them, and they basically said, "Oh, it must be your laptop."
So when they released their scanner, a couple of months ago, well, maybe about 6-7 months ago, I had to put Windows on my MacBook,
right?
Because they were saying, well, we haven't got the software yet for Apple.
Yeah, that's supposed to be coming out.
Right.
And I was like, okay, so I put Windows on, and my MacBook's got some good specs.
Yeah,
it kept crashing. It was just a constant ball ache.
Yeah, so the phone side of it, I found really spot on. To be fair, I've had some great scans from that. I'm actually taking it out tomorrow, see if I can get any good scans from it outside. But yeah, every time I connect it up, load up the software on the computer, they even sent me a beta version. Yeah, that crashed as well. So I'm going to try it on my son's
Which is
computer.
not a great start.
Yeah, well, it kind of limits the sellability because not everyone is in a position where they own like an expensive laptop. I think, I mean, mine's a Core i5 and it.
So hold on. So how powerful does the machine need to actually be? Does it have recommended specs on the website?
Yeah. It has also recommended specs for or mobile phones as well. So what it will work with. The connections.
This is the ferret Mindset Tech.
Yeah.
So I found that like RevoPoint are the one company that really aim for the lower market with PCs and laptops.
Yeah. I feel like if you put Linux onto a Pi, I feel like you could probably run RevoPoint's scanner software on Linux on a Pi. It need to be a Pi 4. Don't get me wrong, it's not going to be you won't be able to do it on a Pi 3 or a 3B.
It's not going to break the bank, is it? Having to spend £1,000 on a PC to £200 on a Pi at the moment.
Yeah. So
it's horses for courses, right? If you're a person who's got because RevoPoint do there's an £8,000 or £9,000 scanner that they do, the big handheld thing that scans
I think that's the one Akuma's getting. The one they scanned the Akuma with.
Isn't that the ferret? I can't remember what was his one?
Is it the Revo 1? Their latest one, isn't it?
Yeah, their newest one that they just did. That they did a full body scan for Akuma.
It's the Revo Pop 2 or the Mini 3D, I think it is.
Mine says I have a RevoPoint Mini. I've not had many good scans, but also invested time into getting them.
Mini was the latest one.
I feel like the way they started was the way a lot of the scanners started was they gave you a rough scan of whatever it was you had. You got that into a 3D modeling bit of software, and then you had to do a decent amount of the refining. They have, I'm sure it's RevoPoint, do a really expensive, and it's like a big old-fashioned telephone style scanner thing, and It looks really, I mean, and it does a really, it's like really high precision work.
Kieran, that we know in Ireland, he does a lot of scanning. He does some really good
does. And do you know what? I can't remember what it is that he has, but he's got an expensive one. I know that he spent about $6,000 on it.
Yeah, and he's got his money back on that.
Yeah, he's scanning auto parts. And the reason he had to get the one that he got was because
depth and detail.
Was the £9 roll of ABS? Yeah. What was it? Oh, so I want to say it was Sunloop. Let me just check because I can't remember.
Oh, and I don't know if you see the resin that I was holding up was the 3DRS 8K cool gray.
Right.
I got that for shipping of $17.
Nice. Good. That's not bad. Yeah.
Mm. And that's it. Resin's dropping in price at the moment, I think.
Oh, no. Well, no, this was normally a $71 bottle, but I got It's Boy in Space was able to get me a coupon, so all I had to do is pay shipping.
So like Sunlu and like Jo was selling like 2-liter bottles now.
Yeah.
You know, for like and that's cut the cost a lot.
£32 on Amazon.
It's nothing, is it? That when you compare to what it was 8 months ago.
But there's actually a new resin coming out.
You can't talk about.
Can't talk about in the next few weeks, and that is priced really aggressively.
Yeah. See, I want to get my hands on. I want to get my hands on some of the Ultra Clear from Nova 3D.
Yeah, Matt likes that, doesn't he?
Yeah, that Matt was saying that he spends like, I think he was like $70-$80 on 2 kilos, and that was blown in one print.
And that's it. If you're doing it as a business and you can justify that price to sell to someone, then it's a no-brainer, isn't it? If they want something that's clear, transparent, doesn't color like a yellow, go like I've used Eron Clear, and it looks nice. As soon as you cure it, it goes like
it goes off color. Yeah.
And
I see this one that they said it was a crystal clear resin, but it turned purple.
Yeah. So Yusu, they do the dual color resin, which I've got to say, I know it's water washable, but it does print really nice, doesn't it, James? It does look different.
Yeah.
And they've got a new one, and they've got a new one coming out soon.
Yeah, it does come out really well.
So I'm going to be honest to say, I still personally have an issue with
water
I still have an issue with
why have I pulled this chain all of a sudden?
So here is my issue, and it is people rather than what it is, right? People seem to make the assumption that because you can wash water washable resin in water, that means you can
just wash it down the sink.
The water straight down the drain. And if you're doing that, literally go seal clubbing, because you are basically choking everything everywhere. It's really it's still super toxic stuff. I think the problem is the insinuation that it's water washable makes it seem as though it is either innocuous or it requires less respect, or it doesn't require the same kosh handling or whatever. It doesn't require the same sort of health and safety.
Kind of really validates the point of it, really, and I think they're hit and miss with that.
And this was my question to you, Sue. Why have you done it in water washable? Just do it.
I can ask. Carl, I can ask. I can ask my handler for Yusu and see what they have. See what they can get back to me.
Genuinely, I think the reason why they're doing it, I genuinely think the reason why they're doing it is that it does lower the ultimate cost and the burden to the end user. You don't have to buy IPA, which is ultimately another toxic chemical that you have. IPA is slightly more difficult to get rid of, but if you have water that is full of a bunch of horrible resin, that should just be as difficult to get hold of. But people are going out and throwing it in their garden.
But people don't. I suppose people do just buy water washable resin. I don't.
I've had the resin that I showed you was the orange purple. Yeah. That is their water washable. That they sent that over to me to try out.
Yeah.
Now what I ended up doing is I rinsed it off in my bucket of water that I have specifically for prints,
Yeah.
That I have a large contamination bucket where I can dump it into.
So my orange and purple. Orange, purple. I've got 3 bottles.
And
colors? Orange.
I want to get the orange pink. That's the one I want right there. Is that orange pink? Because I love the transition that one does.
Yeah, it comes out really well. That one.
And what's the other? Is it purple and blue or something?
It's a purple blue. It's a sky blue. It's like a light blue and like a medium purple. It looks phenomenal. I want to get my hands on those.
What one did you have, James? Did you have the pink?
You had the purple. No, you had the blue.
Yeah,
purple,
so I had like a it was a pink to purple one, and
that looks like gray.
I've still got.
So it's the like this is a blue and it's a water washable one from Eron, but I actually like it. Looks waxy.
Yeah, it does.
It looks
really well.
It looks like it was carved.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like their water washable resin for things like that because it gives it a little bit more depth, dimension.
Yeah, I don't think
even with the water. But back, with the topic of the water washable versus, the standard resin that you use IPA or denatured. I mean, I just went out and spent 30 US on 3 1-liter canisters of denatured alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And it only gave me $30 US, yeah.
So what, about £25?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, roughly.
I get 5 liters for 25 quid here.
Yeah. And so what I do is I dip it in my bucket of my contaminated water as a pre-wash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I take it into my denatured or IPA and give it a proper cleaning. And then I just use my data vac that for compressed air and blow it off. So that way it removes all the water as well as it evaporates the alcohol super quickly.
Yeah.
And I've noticed with that process, the way I've been doing it, it creates.
See, the thing is, if you don't let it dry properly, you get quite a.
Yeah, you get an opaque white.
Yeah, you get like a funny sheen on it.
Yeah,
That's why I like the frozen wash and cure, because the cure station on the frozen one, you can set 30 minutes of the fans just blowing on it before it cures.
Yeah, that's good.
It blows away all the IPA, bone dry, then it cures it.
Yeah.
So this one here wasn't.
Leave it out on a bit of paper towel for an hour or two, and then cure it. Now you just stick it in there, stick it onto fan for 30 minutes, and then cure straight away after.
Yeah.
This one here wasn't fully. Oh, sorry. Let me turn my light down a little bit.
No, it's okay. I was literally just making it big so we can see.
So, come on, focus here. Focus. That wasn't fully dry all the way when I cured it, so it got the white markings.
Yeah.
And then I had done this one, and the graying is actually from the pre-wash. It attached all the excess particles.
Right.
And I'm like, I love the way the coloring came out.
Yeah.
And a lot of people ask
like
when I post. Yeah, it's total like a frosted. And my other half was like, when are you going to print more of those? But you need to print them at like 75% because they're too big for the chessboard.
So actually, I really want to do. So we've got the frozen mini 8KS, and I really want to do a Wizard's chessboard. So I want to do the board in FDM, and I feel like I have a Wizard's.
I've got the board. I did have. I think I might have deleted it.
Well, you've got a laser as well, James. You could do a board with the laser.
They never work.
Come to your house and say horrible crap.
Lasers just don't work. We've never
James, just
cut anything on a laser.
Do an epoxy board. Do a resin epoxy board.
Yeah. So you can get it perfectly flat. So you could
exactly
assemble the board.
But what you can put is, if you do it epoxy, you can put LEDs in it so it glows.
Yep.
Yeah,
that'd work better for Star Trek, like 3-dimensional tech.
And you could actually, at that point, you could actually set it up with the wireless LEDs with the QI plate. And
James being up all night now thinking about it.
I like that. I did them if I did them, I would do. Do you know what? I would do a marble blue filament and a marble white filament, but I do them both in a transparent PET or like a thin PET. Then I put them underneath. Then I do the wireless LEDs, Oh, I'm pretty sure I've got a wizard
James,
chessboard as well.
James, I'll send you a link for some filament if you want. There's I can't think of the company's name.
You couldn't think of a new project to do. There you go. Bang, it's done. That's what you're doing.
They've got like a purple blue transparent PET G, and it's really nice.
Yeah, it sounds like a Yusu.
No. It's a funny name.
I'm sure we have a wizard's chess.
I know there's one on Colts, but it's like stupidly expensive.
Multiple times I've downloaded Lord of the Rings chess sets, but I just haven't found one that's good enough to do yet.
Yeah, they got some on STL Flicks, I think.
Harry Potter.
Here, let me log into STL Flicks really quick.
Oh, wizard chess set. Hold on. 3D export. Who was that?
Is that the James? Is that the one that's on Colts?
If you like. I don't know.
No. Because there's one on Colts that you can find the board for it over on Thingiverse.
Oh, okay. Then, well, I mean, any board would work, right? I mean, any board would work. It's just them getting it so that it looks good on the. Let's stick that on Super Slicer for a second and just see.
Guys, I'm gonna shoot off now.
Yeah, no worries, man. Thanks very much for joining us.
That's all right. Hope all goes well. Take care.
Time to do your exercises.
Yeah, I've got to get back on the elastic band.
See you later, Phil.
Take care.
See you later.
So these, I don't think these are going to work the way that I want them to. So 1 second, let me just share my screen. This is. Can you see that?
Ooh.
Yeah.
So these are the files. I'm not sure.
Those are the Harry Potter files.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. So I'm not sure if I'm loving those. Like they
look a little bit blocky.
Yeah, do you see how they're not really crisp? Like I'm doing these in 8K. Do you know what I mean? Like I want them to
you want
really
them to pop.
Yeah.
Do you James, do you have STL Flicks?
I do not have STL Flicks.
Here,
they have reached out to us, so it might be an opportunity to do something with them actually.
Let me show my screen really quick.
Yeah, just 1 second. Just let me try putting these ones in and see if oh no, they're crap.
Ooh.
Ew. They were yucky. Okay, go on, you show yours. Here we go. Right.
They have the Dwarvens.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And that that right there totally reminds me of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
A bit, but not. I want the Lord of the Rings chess set.
Yeah.
Problem is you want the actual one, didn't you? That's the problem.
Well, and I just won't pay £300 for it.
Whoa. Is that for the files?
No, the actual Lord of the Rings chess set. To be clear, it's
they're metal pieces.
Yeah.
Oh.
The one that's done.
Oh,
that
Viking one looks nice.
One.
The first one or second one?
Ooh, first one. I like the horses.
Ooh, I like that dragon.
That's the 3D export. Goblin chess set that's really good. Got a Marvel chess set that's pretty cool from Hex 3D. But that's not really what I want. A classic chess set.
Yeah, I was just looking at the filing. That dragon for the knight for the knight looks amazing. I might actually download these ones so that way it's a pawn, rook, and knight for the first piece. And then the second one is I've
got a Pokemon chess set.
No way. Okay, I gotta see it. James, let me see it.
Hold on. Let me see if I can. Before everyone gets too excited. Hold on. Oh god, there's so many files. Oh, this is terrible. Hold on.
I was bored the other day, so I did a Benchy keycap.
Right.
It works really well.
Oh, okay. Hold on though. Like, I mean, let me just share my screen. Hold on. So this is the Pokemon chess set.
But if you do the Pokemon one, it's got to be painted.
Yeah.
You know, and actually for Jigglypuff, you could easily do...
set, you're dry brushing that.
Yeah.
You're knocking that chess set out in a couple of hours.
So the only thing I'd say is, need a king and need a queen. Very obvious. They would be your king and your queen. These are obviously your rooks, but you can also have Dragonairs as your rooks. But I'm not really sure.
Oh, one side would be the Dragonairs for the rooks, and then the other side would be your
it's got both sides.
But then in that instance, I suppose Mewtwo and Mew would be your king and queen for the other side.
Yes.
But then
I just don't like the way that look of that Seadra.
Like, okay, so you'd have Ponyta for one set of knights and Ninetales for
probably Pikachu is one of the knights.
That or Growlithe.
Sorry, Pikachu's probably one of the pawns.
I don't know. I think
I could.
You got a bit of a mare trying to remember which parts were actually like with Wizard's Chess.
It's obvious.
It was really cool, and what was really cool about it was that it looked like a real chess set. Do you know what I mean? You knew what all those parts were going to be. But okay, all right. Let me carry on having a look, see what else I can find.
Yeah, see, I'm still waiting to finish that right there. I have one more part to print, but it doesn't line up.
Right.
I'll tell you what, I've just gone on Amazon. Sunlu are doing a deal at the moment. 10-pack they're small. £78 for 10, 250 grams of spools of filament. Thought it was more than that. My bad.
£78 for that? You could probably do better than that with 1 kilo rolls.
Yeah. Trying to find this Pet G. I can't think of its name.
No, that's still the chess set.
Ooh.
Mythic Gothic chess. Oh, I don't know what that is. Gundam. Well, what are these?
How many of the paint stands have you printed now, James?
Well, so I lost the will to live somewhere around 6, and I think I've done 9 now. I no longer remember the taste of human food. There is only paint stands.
Or the feel of grass.
How many more to go then?
Well, so I reckon I need like at least another 4 minimum.
Jesus.
They're just,
Carl, I was going to ask you as well. How big is your shed?
Oh God.
Mine or Carl's?
Carl.
Oh Christ. It's 10 by 8.
Okay. I'm at 100 square foot.
Right.
Yeah, but a 10 by 8 is a UK size for 100 square foot in America. Because everything's bigger in America, isn't it?
Well, it isn't, because that's 80 square foot.
80 square feet, Carl.
I was going to say, he's doing guy math. He's doing guy measurements here.
I'm telling you how numbers work, Carl, but it's not like that.
I don't know. Don't do numbers. Yeah, no. It's not very big. I've got a shed on the side of my house, which is 20 odd foot by 10 foot. Which
describing a garage.
It's like that.
So mine's 5 meters by 4.
I've had a few people comment on
the 55-inch flat screen you've got on the wall, or the fact you can see sunlight through it.
No, those are my vents for resin.
Oh, okay.
No, if you look right above stop it with my auto focusing is like freaking out right now. I mounted a graphics card to the ceiling.
Obviously.
Because it's a dead GPU. And somebody gave me the idea to use those fans and since those are only 3.5 volt fans as an exhaust to pull the fumes upwards. And I'm like, Damn it! Why do you have to give me ideas like that?
So I actually have an extractor fan fitted in here for when I use my laser and my resin.
And that's only a 32, by the way.
When
Once
it's
I
really
get the
bad, when it's really bad in here, I'll just do this.
I'm working on getting my respirator because I've been doing some more spray paint art.
That was a hillbilly respirator.
Oh, I know. No. A hillbilly respirator or a redneck respirator is a bandana.
Or just a longer beard.
Or just you hold your breath in between. It just
and have what's it's in your nostrils.
What's it? Because it smells better than cotton wool.
Yeah.
You know, the thing is with that 3D RS resin, though, you don't smell it. It literally has zero smell.
I got to say, something doesn't really smell. I don't think.
Sunlu's a plant based. That's because the Sunlu one is plant based.
Yeah, it's a lot better now.
But
so this
what I'm doing.
1 second, let me share my screen. This chess set is a Paladin chess set that we've got.
Ooh.
And this is what I mean about how sharp. Do you see how much sharper they are?
Yeah, much cleaner.
Yeah.
Like.
Oh, and it even has the base underneath. So if you did that in a translucent resin, then you definitely would be able to install those lights underneath to where like they would and have it coated. So that way there, when you're actually calling out your moves and whatnot, you know, when you go to that section, that's
no one's going to actually play chess with this.
No, but you know what?
Very much aspirational.
No one's playing chess with this.
No, my kids would. My kids would want to. My kids would want to play.
In all fairness, your kids don't live in either of our houses, though.
No.
Yeah, that's
where this will just sit on display.
Yeah, pretty much.
But no, like I was saying for this, my shed, that once I get the walls completed later this summer, I'm actually bringing out my 65-inch. Yeah, the look on James's face when I said bringing out my 65-inch.
James has just bought a 75-inch telly to go in his bedroom.
So, look, I want to be really clear. The wall's a little bit further away from the bed than I would like.
So you want a bigger screen?
My wife is effectively a mole person when she hasn't got her glasses on.
Our wives are basically
more for shapes and lights. So the bigger I can get the TV screen, more likely I feel she is to watch television. I like watching television. It's great.
So then why don't you just upgrade to a projector and make it the entire wall?
Because in my bedroom, we have gabled ceilings. So we don't have a flat ceiling. The only way I could do a projector is I'd have to do a laser short throw to go up, because there's no. So my whole ceiling pitches at a like 50-degree angle. So if I was to try and mount a projector, I'd have to put it on a lever arm.
Similar to like what this is, how it goes up to the peak.
Yes, it's a peaked roof, but it's got a dormer window in it. So you've got the slide going up, and then coming out of it at a 90-degree angle is like a dormer window.
Ooh.
So there really isn't a way to do a projector on the ceiling. The only way I could do it would be to do a laser short throw. And to be clear, the only reason I got the 75-inch TV is I go on a website called John Pye Auctions. John Pye Auctions is amazing. It is ex-display, liquidated stock, bankrupt stores. Some of it's returns and things like that. There's a few websites that use it, like John Lewis and Made.com and places like that. I paid £120 for a 75-inch 4K JVC TV. There is nothing wrong with it. It works.
It's got a scratch on the back of the case.
It's got a scratch on the back of the case. I don't know how many times you've watched the back of your TV, but I don't really do it that much. And even if it did, I'd just walk past it and go, that wasn't worth $2,000. Like, it just wouldn't bother me. So,
right?
Yeah.
Give me that link.
John Pye Auctions is amazing. So, 3D Musketeers, I was told to say hi. Fair enough. Hello.
Greetings.
So yeah, it's a brilliant website. It's actually fantastic if you're a landlord, because they do a lot of white goods. So a lot of X display and stuff like that. I got my dishwasher was £80 to have that delivered.
Nice.
And it's brand. And when I say it was brand new, I mean it's the polystyrene around it. It was brand new.
So I gotta be a little quieter when I say this one. So my other half's birthday was yesterday.
Yep.
And because you've seen my house and stuff, I've done the walkthrough with you guys. How it's my head hits the basement, hits the ceiling.
Yeah.
I got her a tabletop dishwasher.
Right.
That you can either A, hook it up to like a water source, or B, you can actually just pour water into the back of it and be able to run it.
If I got my wife a dishwasher for her birthday, I would now be wearing a dishwasher.
No, she asked for it. That was one of the things that she truly wanted.
Yeah. My wife asked me for very different things.
Yeah, I would just have a dishwasher that had a head-shaped hole in the bottom of it.
See, technically I have kids, so it already had dishwashers. But
one of our fans said you were talking about the bamboo and its rods and such. Square peg. We were indeed 3D Musketeers. We were indeed. So we were talking about how the carbon rods were changed out for the steel ones, and how bamboo didn't like that, and immediately deleted the entire post and comment thread.
Now with that one on, with switching out for steel's 3 times heavier than aluminium.
It is, but they're not aluminium rods; they're carbon rods. So it's it's even heavier.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Is why not switch it for an aluminium rod?
So because of the
lightness.
Steel. So the problem with the carbon is over time the friction wears it. You will if you use aluminium and you're not using either low coefficient bearings, which are quite expensive, or you're not using rubber inserts. You will wear down the aluminium as you would do with the carbon fiber. So I'm assuming that by picking the steel rods, which I'm pretty sure they were tool steel. What he's going for is a machine that can just keep going. So it's
essentially a Energizer Bunny.
Effectively, yeah. So he'd more than like. So he's significantly increased the mass of the rails. So I would envision that ludicrous mode is something that's stepped down now. So ludicrous mode in standard speed goes up to 387 millimeters a second because it scales in percentages. Haven't had issues there yet, but this is mainly because mine is constantly giving me issues. Right? Okay, fair enough. So if you were looking for a workhorse that was just going to churn stuff out at say 200 millimeters a second, which is standard mode, then really steel would probably be the way to go. Plus, as well, if you put actual lubricated bearings on steel rods, it would be significantly quieter. So the carbon rods, they aren't quiet because they're self-lubricating silicone or silica-based bearings or something. They're
probably self-lubricating silicone.
Yeah, something like that.
See, now there's one new printer that's coming out, and I'm really hoping that they actually follow through with it. It's the new Soto with the 7-color AMS.
Oh, right.
That's in the record style instead of the slot in this way.
Yeah. I know which one you mean. Hold on, let me see if I can find it.
Every single time I load Lychee Slicer and I slice something out, that's like the primary ad that's right in your face.
Stack them instead.
Yeah.
So
it's a record style.
Right, gents, I'm gonna have to scarp it because I need to go and sort the kids out for bed and get ready to watch Yellowstone.
Yeah, no worries, man. We're gonna sign off in a bit.
I totally forgot that it's like 9 or 10 o'clock.
10 to 10. Time. 10 to 10.
10 to 10. Yeah.
When it's only
like 40. Yes. So the Conoco Sota.
Yes.
The fastest consumer grade 3D printer on the market unveiled at CES. That's a very bold statement.
Well, the way that their tooling is working on that, and the Soto, there's been a lot of, because they didn't even have a working prototype at the time.
Right.
I've been tracking the process with it and everything.
Yes, I remember now. This is one of the ones that a bunch of influencers have basically said, you've got one half working prototype. We are not backing, and we're not covering what, because it's one that prints upside down, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, the tool head is the nozzle and everything. The filament comes in this way and then immediate 90 to go up. So it's at a 90-degree angle, and you have your essentially your AMS over off to the side that's feeding in, and you can actually, apparently it does a triple point nozzle, so you can have 3 different colors printing simultaneously.
So look, first of all, as 3D Musketeers points out, right? First and foremost, they do not have a working model at the moment. What
I
they
want
have
to
at
see
the
it
moment
come to fruition, though.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, I like what it's talking about, but frankly, if they haven't even gotten to a point at the moment where they really have something that properly works, then you don't really have a thing. Do you know what I mean? It's just a cool idea that somebody had. I don't debate. I like the theory. I like the way they're presenting it. I like the idea. And as soon as they can show me a properly working model and they can get that out to multiple influencers, not necessarily us. It doesn't have to be us to see it. I believe other influencers. We're not the only voice.
They reached out to me as well.
Yeah.
And
I like the engineering. I like the ingenuity. I like what they're trying to do. Unfortunately, I just don't think. Yeah, I'm not loving
the way I see it. Is basically it's a Core XY, but it's flipped out on its head because the bed doesn't move. It's not a bed slinger.
True.
And
closed loop. It's closed loop steppers for the X and Y to ensure printing. Right. Okay, fine.
And I've seen a few, like, I'm not for sure if they're CGI'd in on the videos or anything else like that. There's one on the video on Facebook.
Sure that what they've got there is CGI'd. Because they don't. Well, I mean, I've spoken to a few people who have spoken directly to them, and just to be clear, they haven't reached out to us, and we aren't. They haven't said, James, don't forget the £9 ABS. Collie, so I have looked, and now it is more expensive, unfortunately. But Sunlu and Yayo, Jayo, which is Sunlu sub brand. Both of those have the cheapest ABS at the moment. We do have a 10% off thing that you can use on there. I do not think at the moment it is back down to being £9. I think it's about £14 a kilo.
Hey, you know what though? £14 a kilo, that's not bad.
Yeah. So you can buy. So if you buy in bulk, then it's cheaper. But yeah, let me just.
And I'm gonna answer Paul Lawson's comment here. They put it on Kickstarter solely because their financial backers wanted a return on their money, and so they didn't have it ready. Yeah, no, I understand that they didn't have it ready, but even then, with Kickstarter, unless it fully goes through, nobody's getting paid.
Nah,
that's one thing about Kickstarter. If it flops, you're not out any money, and the backers aren't out any money. And their financial backers, that the ones that are pushing to get this done, they're out money.
So the only thing I would say to that is, and again, it is something people need to remember, is that ultimately, when you back something through Kickstarter, you are not, and I cannot be clearer about this, it says it in the terms and conditions, you are not buying a product.
You're backing an idea.
Investing in a company, and in return for that investment, rather than giving you your money back plus interest, they give you the product, normally at a discounted rate over what you would normally pay on retail. But you have no consumer rights, you have no consumer protection. If they go south, many people have tried. Many people have tried. So the problem, and as Paul points out, the issue is that if they ship something, you're getting billed. Doesn't mean that something has to work. You're getting billed. I remember a while ago, and it was there was a. So you remember you could buy these magazines where each week you pay like $5 and you get a part of something, and then over the course of 1,000 issues or something stupid, you end up
with a finished thing. So it'll be like, it's sort of like a really crappy payment scheme of how to buy like a remote control plane or I think there was
a giant pyramid scheme.
Yeah. So there was one that did. Oh, here we go. We've got Matt from Akuma. Hello, Akuma. How are you doing?
Akuma.
So, so there are ones that that there was one that did it where each week you bought this magazine and you got a part of a 3D printer, and you eventually made a printer. And each week they came out with different panels or different sliders or different parts of the hot end or whatever, and you went through the instructions, and each week by week by week you would build your 3D printer. And what it was at the end was at best an expensive way of setting your house on fire. Like it was not good. It was really, really terrible.
That's if anyone even actually ever finished it.
Yeah, that's if anyone actually got all the way through it, because as well, you couldn't buy back issues. And each issue was like £4 or £5, and you had to buy like 150 issues. And each one was telling you about the history of 3D printing, or telling you about something that was going on, or telling you about 3D printing homes or whatever. But like it was expensive. And at the end, it didn't work. If they ship you something and it doesn't work, tough. You have no consumer back. You have no consumer rights. You have no ability to go back and say, "Hey, the thing you sent me doesn't work." And they go, "No, but we did send you a thing, so we never told you."
Thanks for your money.
There was actually
the only time that you're not charged through Kickstarter is if they fail their
they fail their campaign.
Campaign.
I mean,
Thank you.
The Koniki Soka is, and this is another thing. This is another thing you'll notice on a lot of 3D printer Kickstarters. Their goal was £40,000.
Yeah,
Really
they set it so low.
They haven't got to repay anyone.
Yeah, because to be clear, they're just to buy the Koniki Lite was £442, which means that all they were expecting to sell was 100 units. If they sell 100 units, then after that, which is a base production run of most things anyway, they probably wouldn't have been able to have ordered their parts in anything less than 100 batches. Anything above that, and they're now able to bill everybody. They've achieved their target goal. They're able to go out. They've currently got £521,000 that's on their campaign. This project will only be funded if it reaches its goal by Saturday the 24th. Well, it's already reached that goal massively. It's already funded.
I see it's
the code in the chat for anybody who wants to use it. To be clear, we don't get any commission off of that. It's a generic code. It's 10% off of Sunlu. You go on their website, you put the code in, you get 10% off of whatever's on their website for filament.
See, and with the Soto, I want to see it succeed because it's really unique, and you don't really see much of those type
I want it
of
to succeed because it looks to me like the kind of company that's supposed to use Kickstarter.
Yeah,
which is a small, underfunded company with a really weird idea that they've sat in multiple banks and tried to explain to somebody what it is that they're doing. And the person goes, "So it's an ice cream cart." And you're like, "No, it's not an ice cream cart. It's a 3D printer. It makes things." "So it's not an ice cream cart." "No." "Okay. I don't know what it does. I'm not giving you the money. I don't understand this. It sounds like you're talking about goblin magic. We don't fund goblin magic here. Like, this is a bank. We're real people. We wear ties. Like, what are you talking about?" So I get that they're the kind of people who should be using it. The people who annoy me on Kickstarter is when large-scale companies like Creality and the CR30, where large-scale companies just use it to finance their production runs. And all you're telling me as a company is, we believe in this product so little, we're not even going to pay for the first production run. You guys are. And if it's successful, great. We'll all benefit.
And if it isn't successful, you guys are screwed and we aren't.
And we're not at any money.
We're not taking any risk. We've completely de-risked the retooling, the ramp up in production, the revisions and everything else. You guys are going to act as our beta testers. And not only that, you're going to pay the cost price of the machine to be a beta tester. And you're going to go through and you're going to give us feedback. And maybe if we sell enough of the units, maybe we'll make some revisions. And then everybody can go to retail and we have a much better product that does much better. And the only people who'll be griping are the people who bought through Kickstarter. And no one cares about people who buy through Kickstarter because they're not real people. So, it's people like Bamboo to an extent, although Bamboo did have very, very deep pockets. So I challenge
BGI.
Yeah. So they had very deep pockets. But then you have companies like Jade LeBeau. So Jade LeBeau was originally a number of Snapmaker engineers who left Snapmaker, started their own company, and made the J1. The J1 was an IDEX machine. And as soon as they finished their Kickstarter campaign, that first week, they came back and said, great news. We've partnered back with Snapmaker. And we're no longer the Jade LeBeau. We're now the Snapmaker J1. Because we're going to bring in Snapmaker's expertise and their logistics and their resources. And we're now going to be part of the Snapmaker brand. And I'm like, did you guys even hand your pass in before you left? Like, it seems like a revolving door in the building where you went outside and you said, hey, we've got a thing. And then you went back inside with it. So that felt really dishonest. That felt like a real bait and switch. But there's loads of companies that have done it. Elegoo did it for a while.
I see Blue Sky.
Yep.
Yes. We only ever really see Matt in his basement.
I know.
Yeah.
He claims isn't his parent. We've not seen a deed.
I swear, I get outside. I'm not a vampire.
Wait. No, I've seen him in his kitchen too when he made his salsa.
The problem is all the resin that's currently on Matt's hands and hair is currently curing. And he's only got a very short period of time before he turns into a life-size Lego man. It's just...
I'm still waiting for him to print his 3D scan.
Yes. When are you doing your 3D scanner yourself, your mini-Matt?
So I have it. It needs to be cleaned up a little bit. So I have to send it out to be cleaned up. Just a few bits.
Who's doing it for? Have you got someone in mind to do it already?
Yeah, so one of the guys that was at the booth, he opted to clean it up for me. And then Finn's Forge or Last Bendu on TikTok, he's semi-local to me. So he said he could clean it up for me as well. So
sweet.
So you know what?
So you've been at work, Matt, or have you just been out with?
I was at work, yes.
Was this? I can't even track what job you're in at this point. Are you lead manager of the? I mean, you've been like 7 warehouse managers, and like I don't think they get to a point where they can give you a company pen and know that you're definitely not going to use it somewhere else.
Yeah, no, I'm a warehouse manager for a freight forwarding company that's based out of Germany.
Okay, right, fair enough.
He's a drop shipper. No.
Sort of.
I mean, it's simplest that I could explain that one for layman's terms.
No.
They send us the stuff and we send it out to you.
Pretty much. The only thing is we send it worldwide. That's the big difference.
How are you getting on with the Galaxy One?
You know what? It prints. And that's the thing. Like, it prints without issues. I've had very minimalistic failures on it. And so far, it's been great. One of the things that I've been trying to narrow down, though, is there's an issue with the printer itself, like having a fuzzy skin effect on the prints. It's mild in my opinion, but some people lose their mind about it. So
I've got to ask, known for really losing their mind about stuff, are they?
Yeah. So I've got to ask. You've seen it on that group as well, right? It's the most hysterical. I've been on pregnant mother groups that have had less hysteria than that Galaxy One group.
Oh yeah,
and they're all like, "Don't eat tuna, or your baby will come out Mexican." And you're like, "What? Like, what do you mean?" And they're like, "Yeah, no, you can't do it. You know, you get ginger kids. It's when you eat too much toast in the morning."
Yeah. I put up a video about Wham Bam because Wham Bam sent me a flex plate for it. And people lost their minds about it. They're like, this is overpriced. You shouldn't be doing this. There's other competitors. Like, I know I'm working with everybody. Like, this is not just here. It's just the fact that Wham Bam was the first ones to get it to me. So that is why. And then they're like, oh, well, you're doing paid promo. I'm like, absolutely not. I mean, unless you consider the product paid, that's about it. I'm not getting paid to do any of this.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of times where I've been messaged and called, I mean, we're called all sorts of things all the time, but the amount of times that I've been accused of being a corporate shill, of somebody who's got a gripe with a company and them being like, the only reason you're doing this is because you're being paid. This is really dishonest. You should disclose when you're being paid and all this. And I'm like, just so we're clear, we have never been paid to do a review. We're paid to do project videos, but we've never done a paid review with anybody. All of our reviews have been, they might send us
a machine for free.
They send us a machine for free, so you can take that as you can take that as payment in kind. And there are times, I mean, to be clear, we always disclose it. We make sure that people understand. But so one of the things I wanted to say earlier was one of the reasons we won't work with Creality was we were offered the CR10S Pro. I think maybe it was the Max when it first came out.
Okay.
And they sent us over commercial terms that were the most unacceptable terms I've ever read. And I can't believe that there is a single creator who would ever sign up to them. First of all, they say we retain the commercial rights to your video. So you have no creative license at all. They are able to do with whatever they want with it. They also say explicitly in their terms, or they said at least, that they would be legally allowed to cut up your clip and post it however they wanted. So if you said, hey, this isn't the best, but it also isn't the worst, they could just cut out the end bit and cut out the isn't and just have, hey, this is the best. And it's just, okay, well, we're not going to let you do that. Then they said they retained full editorial rights over any of our content. So anything that was in our content that they didn't like, they would be able to get us to remove. Any content that didn't go out at time, they had embargoes and things like that. They were all pretty normal. But as well, they also retained the right to deletion. So if they felt at some point that your content was competing with another creator's content, they could ask you to remove that content just because it competed with them, because they wanted that other video to be more popular. And it was, the other one was, they said that we had to give them 50% of all of the 50% of the ad revenue on any of the videos we create for them would also be theirs as well. And we were like, who's signing this? Like, I'm not being funny. The printer's £400. Like, why would you sign that?
You're sending it out to us to try and make money, off of us.
It was really, and they were like, well, this is what all our content creators sign. And I'm like, I'm telling you now, there's absolutely no way that the vast majority of your content creators have signed anything even close to resembling that. I said,
either that or they didn't read it.
Well, yeah. But the amount of creative control that they had over what you were making, they may as well have just said, we'll give you a script and you need to read the script. Like, there was no freedom. There was no ability for you to actually express a real opinion. The only opinion you were allowed to. And it's like Sam said, where Creality were like, oh yeah, we'll do all this stuff with you, providing that you take down that video of the K1 hot end melting down and providing you put out another video saying that A, you were wrong, and B, that you've now fixed the issue that you had that you caused. And it's like, just to be clear, the way that sheared. So I don't know if you've seen Sam's video, but basically his throat sheared.
I saw it. Yep.
Only way that throat shears as cleanly as it did is a manufacturing defect. There's nothing else.
It's
poor tooling. It's that's it. It's literally a manufacturing defect in that throat. It's the only way it would shear that clean. Because even if you smacked it with a hammer, it would bend and then it would break at an angle. The only reason it's sheared as clean as it is, because it is almost perfectly flat, is a manufacturing issue. That's a quality control issue. It's a manufacturing defect in what they put out. But they'll never admit that. It'll never be them.
I mean, look at all the Enders. Look at the Ender 3. Each person's Ender 3 has its own personality and own issues.
Yeah. You can roll the dice and you could get a perfectly flat bed. Or you could roll the dice and get one that would convince flat earthers that the earth is round. Like it's got an actual curvature to it. You sort of sit there and go, oh, I get it. Okay, fair enough. Like it's appalling. There's, and the same happened. We had an S1 Pro that we gave away, and the amount of coaching I've had to do with the guy who got it because of the issues he's had. It was not worth giving away. It would have been less effort for me to just throw it in the bin.
That's good to know, because they sent me an S1 Pro last week to do a review on.
Oh, well, brace yourself. Again, I mean, print yourself off a dice tower and see if you can get yourself a nat 20. Because if you can roll a nat 20, you're probably going to be fine, and it'll be good. But if you're rolling a nat 1, guess what? You're getting it out of the box, and it's going to be upside down. Like it's just.
Exactly.
I was waiting for the D&D reference to come out, because he kept saying if you roll this, I'm like, all right, so where's the nat 20 and where's the nat 1?
I've actually started watching Dimension 20's new campaign. Oh, it's so good.
We actually at 5:00 tonight, me and a few buddies of mine from TikTok, we actually have a campaign that we're doing.
Oh, okay. What's it based on? Is it Gloomhaven or?
No, it's a bit. I can't remember the location it's based off the new E5.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
I'm rocking with a Dragonborn, level 5 mage with 3 classes of necromancy.
Yep. Yeah.
There we go.
Now we're all on the normal cameras. A little fuzzy though. That's a little overexposed.
It's the light. It's the new light.
Matt, have you unboxed your Mini 8KS, or is it literally just
I have not. I literally got it yesterday. It is sitting right behind there. So
be interesting to see if your USB stick's empty or not, because ours was.
Yeah. Your USB what?
USB stick was empty. So you have to have. I don't know if you've got it. Have you got the closed beta for Cheaty Box, the non-publicly available one?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's got the Mini 8KS profile on it, but stock Cheaty doesn't yet, because obviously the printer's only just come out.
Right.
And I tried using Voxel Dance Tango Slicer.
Yep.
I did not like using Voxel Dance Tango Slicer. It's
not for everybody.
It was irritating.
Looking at the Galaxy One, looks like a giant microwave at this angle.
Pretty much. That's exactly what it looks like.
It looks like from every angle. It's not just that angle. It reminds me of, I used to be a pub chef. It reminds me of the Merry Chefs that you used to get, which were like big glorified microwave ovens.
Got a giant chef mic?
Let's see. So yeah, just been doing some miscellaneous stuff. I don't know when I'll get around to unboxing that. It's going to have to be soon, because the promo is going on the 15th, right?
Is it 15th? I thought it was the 17th.
Hold on. I'll look on the email before we start. We'll say that. Maybe I won't.
As he accidentally shares a screen, it shows everybody all of his emails.
Well, to be clear, this would just be all the emails between us and Frozen.
Which is a lot. And it's generally just us going, hey, we've got an idea for a thing. Do you want to do it? And they're like, oh, another thing? And we're like, yeah, this thing. Yeah, all right then.
So it is 17th.
17th.
It is the 17th, is it?
I got about a week, a little less than a week that I can unbox it. Yeah, it's getting close.
We've done our unboxing video.
You got 4 days.
Because I have Mingda who wants me to do an unboxing of their newest machine too. So I'm going to do that.
We've already recorded our unboxing. So we're just going to release ours on the 17th.
I'm pretty sure it is the 17th.
Yeah, but Matt always does a live unboxing, so
we usually always do live unboxings.
Yeah, we do as well. To be fair, but we just sort of said, yeah, well, we can't guarantee that we're going to be able to get on at the time that we need to do it for. So we just said we've done an offline one, and then we'll launch it, and then we'll do, and then we've got a follow-up review that we're filming at the moment.
Yeah, I noticed that the live unboxings actually do a lot better than the video, than just the offline video unboxings.
Yeah, so that people like them because ultimately you are able to be like, look, I got it out of the box, and this is what it does. It's like with all of our reviews, we don't do any tuning for profiles, because if you spend long enough with any printer, you can get it printing really well, but that isn't the experience most people are going to have. So we use a stock profile, and we use generic filament. So we tend to use like Sunlu filament or something like that, because again, not everyone's going to have like really beautiful protoplaster filament sitting there. Most people are going to have the cheap filament that's got a huge diameter variation and everything else. Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, Sunlu's really good.
Like my Flash 4 is burnt titanium.
Yeah. And again, you can spend hours sitting there tuning and fettling and dialing in and doing pressure advance and everything else. But the point of our videos is supposed to show you when you get this machine out of the box.
Every printer is different as well.
Yeah.
Same printer, two next side by side can be completely different.
Right. Let's see. It says Akuma Mods, what would your procedure be for pre-tensioning 10-inch FEP on a 2-piece vat, which does not
have a frame
screw FEP on first? Ooh.
I just use a bottle cap.
Yeah.
I'm just curious what printer that is, because I only know of one printer that comes to mind, and I don't think it was a dual vat. It was a singular, but dual LCDs, and that was the old school
Frozen Transform.
Yeah. But
I think he means by a 2P. I think, a big Q
means the frame that sandwiches the FEP.
I think he means rather than having a sandwich of two metal things and then going into the vat, I think he means there's a frame and a vat, and you literally put it in.
You bolt it together.
Like
you just put the metal straight into the vat rather than over two sandwich bits. Do you know what I mean?
If that's the case, if you're trying to tension it in any way, the bottle cap method is the best way, in my opinion and in my experience.
But that's the point he's making. So he's saying the bottle cap method won't work because it's an offset, because he can't tension it, because normally the way you tension it is you've got the internal screws, and then you flip it over once the two pieces are sandwiched, and then you put it into the vat, and the screws are on the other side. What he's saying is he's got a vat, and he's got one piece of metal that goes underneath, and he flips it over, then you're on the inside of the vat.
Yeah, so you're doing the same thing, but essentially it's like you're picking up a sandwich. Okay, so essentially you would place the FEP and the metal liner for the vat down, and there would be a bottle cap underneath. That would create your tension. Then what you do is you bring your vat and set it on top of that, and then pick it up, sandwich it, turn it upside down, and it is already pre-tensioned at what it needs to be. So what you're going to do is you're going to hold on to one side of that pre-tensioned already as it needs to be, and then start poking your holes or screwing it in. So that's what I did with this thing, essentially. So because that is a giant vat with just a ring. That's it. Don't drop it.
Oh, something broke again.
I mean, it's a boron, so it doesn't really surprise me.
James, you need to work on that cable management.
It's fine. I just turn it upside down.
Is that
when you don't look at it?
James, is that your essential of a PC build, and you just stuff everything into the basement and put the back panel on and call it a day?
I don't know of a different way to build a PC, so I don't really know what you're saying to me right now. It sounds like you're just describing the right way to build something.
If I were to be able to show the backside of my computer, you'd look at it and go, "And what the hell?
What can't be seen can't be critiqued."
That is true. That's why Jimmy Savile didn't have many complaints for that long.
Yeah.
Every single one of my wires that run from my motherboard or for my coolers or fans or everything are one individually labeled of where they go.
That Jimmy Savile only landed in the UK.
Yeah,
yeah, I just realised that was a very very regional sex offender joke, which is fair.
They kind of skipped the pond over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had more than enough people to abuse over here. He didn't need to travel.
Yeah.
So yeah, to go back to your question about the eMake, I personally have not had any issues with it. It uses Shi2Box Pro, which some people like, some people don't.
Well, I can't imagine anyone's excited about the idea of having to pay for a slicer.
Well, so that's a whole funny thing, because I remember when that happened and people lost their mind, like, oh my God, you got to pay for a slicer. And literally, what was it? 2 months later, Leachy's like, guess what? We got a pro version or a plus version. And then 3 months after that, then they have a plus version or whatever it is. So now they have 3 versions. They have a free, a paid, and a higher paid. So I'm like, but nobody lost their mind about that, though.
But you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me exactly of the headphone jack on iPhone. So as soon as iPhone said, "Oh, we're removing the headphone jack," Samsung came out. "Oh, you can plug your headphones in. That's why ours is better." And then the next version of their phone, like, "Oh yeah, we super took that way." Like, it was getting in the way of stuff. Sorry, bye. You just have Bluetooth headphones now.
And Lychee Slicer now has 4 tiers.
Oh,
because they also have their technically 8 because it's all their resin stuff, and now they also have the Filament Pro tiers.
Awesome! All right, I'll be right.
And you could pay for either the filament or the resin, or you can do both. And I think it was like 200 pounds for the year.
Well, that's too much money. I don't like it.
And I'm like, I'll use the free stuff. I don't get all the advanced tools that I'd like when it comes to the supports and everything. But
yeah,
I just deal with an ad. Because when I did slice something that had supports for like the top of my helmet, it gave these really weird.
When it comes to the way Chi2Box is doing it,
where the basic version gets you basic. If you want some of the newer features, you buy the Pro. Okay, I can live with that. Like, I get it. Some people just get stuff a bit sooner than I do. Cheaty Box works for me. So the only thing you're really not getting is necessarily some of the brand new profiles that come out, and they need to go through a maturing period anyway. Like, you don't really want to be a beta tester for a lot of that stuff. So fine, I get that. Not a problem. But when Leechy starts showing you ads in between, it's like, what do you think? So first of all, like, so you're not just satisfied with me not paying for it. You're instead now selling me as a product to those people. And it's almost like saying, hey, do you want to protect your private information? Well, the only way to do that is to pay for the Pro version. Otherwise, we're selling a bunch of AdSense data. And it's just, I find it so unsavory. It's the idea that if you're not going to pay for it, somebody's going to pay for it.
Exactly.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So this came off of the eMake 3D Galaxy One. Now I put some water on it because I was sanding it down, but
yeah, that's nice.
So the problem with the eMake over the other printers is it's very slow. But the cool thing is you're not spending time messing around with curing settings and stuff like that. Like, you can. But the thing is I printed this thing at 100% laser power with no problems. So I just did a test on, so I have some Nova Blue going on this right now. It's a 22-hour print that's going. And I did the stock settings because everything's done on the machine. So unlike MSLA, you don't deal with cure times. So all the stuff that's in Cheaty Box is not there for your machine settings.
Right.
So everything's done on the machine. So it's vastly different than an MSLA machine. So I think a lot of people are going to be surprised on that and a little unhappy because they're so used to the workflow that they normally would. And then this is going to throw a wrench in it because it's completely different.
Yeah.
I made the joke of the Galaxy One that it's basically the resin printer of the filament world.
Yeah. So it's a little bit faster than filament printers on a normal basis, but still, I mean, 18 hours for something like this, I can probably do it in the Mega in probably 4 hours, if that, maybe even faster. But it's the fact that I don't have to worry about anything that prints on this. It just prints.
Yeah.
It's kind of like my uniformation. Like, that's how I'm quite impressed with it. But again, the only thing that's kind of like a little bit of a downfall is that it's got a fuzzy skin effect on the prints. That's the only downfall. But I think that's minimalistic at best, unless you're trying for high detail, which I don't really consider this machine to be a high detail. If you want high detail stuff, go with the Sonic Mini AK, go with the Sonic Mini AKS, the 4K printers, stuff like that. Smaller printers with a higher resolution. Not a big printer. So
now could the fuzzy skin be due to either air bubbles or like humidity inside the machine?
No, because I've tested it without so it's got a built-in heater in it, and it's got built-in filtration. So I've tried with both of those off. I've tried with each one of them on. I pretty much print it all the time with both of them on, except for the time that I was testing. And bubbles, no, that's not an issue because no matter what, you can let the resin rest and it'll be perfectly fine. My thought process was because it has a different style vat or FET film. I forget the exact name of it. I think it's called a TSA film or STA film, something like that. So it's more like a membrane. It's kind of like what the Nexa uses. So it's vastly different than FEP. Whereas FEP is like drums. Okay,
yeah.
Like when you hit it, it's got a sound. That FEP doesn't really do that. It's more like a sticky slap hand that you get out of the quarter machines. Like that's what it's like. So I thought, okay, maybe that's the issue, but
I changed out to a regular NFEP, and it seems to be the same issue. Now, I haven't cleaned up the model or anything to do a comparison, but I basically did I only kept a bust of this little Dracula guy. So I have one printed on the Mini 8K. I have one printed on the old FEP, and then I have one printed on the new FEP. So I'm going to do a comparison between all of them once I clean it up today and see if maybe it's part of the print or if it actually still has that effect. And if it is, then it's a byproduct of the actual laser. Because the weird thing about this is it's not like Formlabs lasers where it actually draws the laser apart. It's not like that. So this is like a scanner, like your 2D scanner for pieces of paper. It sweeps across and then it lasers on as it sweeps across. And then it stops. So yeah, it's a little bit different. So it doesn't like the other lasers, they use G-code more or less to fire the lasers. This one doesn't really do that. Or if it does, it's very minimalistic. So it is a laser, but it's not what everybody thinks it is. So that's what makes it even a little bit faster than a normal laser SLA, but still slower than an MSLA printer. So yeah, but we'll see. That was the only thing that I needed to try and fix. And then of course everybody's asking about speed settings, but the problem is I have to double check because I only used it once. And I have to check if it resets after every print or if it stays on every print. And if it resets, to have speed settings is kind of pointless because you literally have to set it per print. But if not, then we can get it a little bit higher. But the thing that makes these printers faster on my profiles is the Z height lift. Whereas this, you have no control over the Z height lift. You can get control over the X and Y. That's it, not the Z. So, and so with that, you also get control of the laser. So you can double up the power of the layers or the quickness of the laser. But again, you have to shoot up the laser as well if you're going to mess with that. So
have you got the upgraded laser?
I do not have the upgraded laser as far as I know.
Right.
So that's supposedly
there is an upgraded laser, isn't there? But is that because that's more powerful? But the idea is that you don't run it at full power so that it lasts longer. Is that it?
So I mean, that's
run it at full power and go
lasers. But I'm not too in tune with lasers to say if that's an actual thing or not. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, that's like saying the same thing. Like Anycubic automatically has a light off delay on the M3 Max, which I absolutely hate. And they do that to save the screen, where I don't care about saving the screen. This is going to be obsolete in a year. So by the time I need another screen on this, I'll probably have to pay $1,000 for it or whatever, or it'll be non-existent. So, for me, I don't care about the span of life. It's been a long time since I've actually had a screen die out on me. And actually, it was only one printer in the time frame that I had it, and that was the Weebox Lite 130 that was actually dying out. And that was 3 years it took for it to die out. Right. And that's an RGB screen where they said, oh, no, those things last like 200 hours. That thing had well over 5,000 hours on it. That was my go-to printer. It was the best thing I ever had. So,
right,
you're going to go, Mike?
Yeah,
no worries, man. I'll be dropping off in a minute anyway.
Have a good one, man. Sorry, I can talk my ear off.
No, that's all right. That's the thing, right? The thing is without condoning the way that group has behaved, I do understand their concern about the fact that they feel that they haven't had loads of detailed information about the printer. To be clear, I do not believe that it is any reviewers or influencers' job to do the press release work of the company.
Right.
It's not my responsibility to educate people on how to use a machine. I am there to convey my experience, provide my recommendations, and highlight anything where I feel I may have had an issue in that part of the review period. If I had things that weren't going well, or I had situations that came up, then absolutely I should let people know about those, and I tell them about my experience.
Right.
But it's not my job to suddenly run their press department, because I don't run their press department. I'm not a representative of that company.
Correct.
But the problem is that when yours is the only voice that's out there that is talking about it, everybody, I mean, that guy who was going on saying, hey, why don't you all, I challenge you all to design a prosthetic with me in real time. And it's like, what?
Yeah. And I was like, you know what? Bring it on. I don't know how to design anything, but give me the file. I'll print it off right here. I'll do it live.
I mean, again, he was different. He was difficult for a lot of different reasons.
Oh, yeah.
Like he was ridiculous, but still,
yep.
It was.
And that's not the first time. Like that's probably like the fifth or sixth person that I've seen in there that's just off the hinges about stuff.
They are an odd group. So yes. I can't think of another time where I've been in a group that's quite as quick to toxicity as that one is. And there's only 2 or 3 instigators of it.
Yep.
But they are a group of people who are genuinely and overtly, it feels like they want Galaxy to fail just so that they can say, I told you so. And they don't care that they're going to lose money. They just want to be in on. They want to say, I told you this wasn't real. I told you that ages ago. I knew it. I knew it from the beginning. It's like, well, why did you back it then?
Oh, kind of like the ones for the soda.
Yeah, the smug.
That one should have never happened.
I cancelled my pledge when I noticed that on one of the videos, they were claiming that they were using an ARM265 chip, but they were only using an ARM264, and that's got a 32 megabyte less bus. And I knew from that moment they were liars. And ever since then, I've known, and I felt it in my bones. And you're like, oh, okay, you sound like you're fun at parties. Like this is like, you sound like you're a lot of work. Like your missus comes home of an evening and she's like, this guy. Like,
yep.
But gentlemen, I gotta go grab my son. He just got back into town.
Right. I got to go as well anyway. Thank you very much for coming and hanging out, Matt. Thank you for rushing home and jumping on as well. I will hopefully speak to you all very soon. Matt, I'll more than likely, if you're doing a live in the morning on TikTok, I'll more than likely try and jump on, see if I can pull myself away from whatever it is that I'm doing, which will more than likely be Voron stuff, because that's my life now. I'm a Voron person.
Hey, you know what, James? That's like what I said. You know, I'm already looking at like 1 or 2 new resin printers.
Mm.
You know, they say that the Ender is the gateway to filament. Well, the Mono 4K is the gateway to resin.
So my M3 Max, my screen on my M3 Max died. And I say died, I had a really, really bad resin leak. And whilst I was doing my best to try and clear it up, I've got a scratch in the screen, which has scratched the UV layer. And I didn't have a screen protector on it, all of which was my fault. So
always have a screen protector. Always put protection.
Wear a screen protector. Always want protection. Use protection, kids. Always use protection. So that's sitting there idle at the moment, so I can't really do anything with it. So when I'm doing my big stuff at the moment, generally I'm asking Mike to do it, and Mike's doing it on he's doing it on the Mega 8K because it's the only big machine we've got at the moment. I'm doing all my other stuff on the GK2, and the only issue I had with that was, and Matt, we talked about it, whenever the heater was kicking in, it was causing micro layer shifts.
Yep.
And there was uniformed, like every 20, 30 layers, it was causing a little step over, a little step, a little bulge. And it was
kind of like that on the fan.
Yeah.
See, I thought it was the model, because this is from Sassy Cat.
Nah.
Only 2 of her models has ever done this.
So I'll tell you what. 1 second, so I can show you exactly what it is.
But yeah, Matt, I was telling James, a year ago, basically as of today, I wouldn't be up here speaking, of what I've learned.
Right.
Without, picking out your guys' brains left and right.
Exactly. And that's what I do with a ton of people. Do it all the time. It's nice to share the information that I know and get new information from everybody else that maybe I don't know and they've tried out.
So you might have some insight on the idea that I had for James for that trident.
So here we go. You see this?
Yep.
The little the stepping.
Yep. That is from the GK2's heater.
Yep.
Every time the heater kicks in, you can see how uniform it is as well. So
yeah, it's immediate
at regular intervals.
Have they not offered to send you a replacement?
No, I just disconnected the switch and moved on with my life.
Okay.
I just don't use
they,
the heater.
They sent me the new version, which I didn't have issues with mine, and I haven't printed with the new one yet.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So that was caused by that, and the way to solve it was I just turned the heater off.
Right.
I just literally unscrewed the switch from the inside, just left it in there. So I don't have a heater anymore. But to be fair, I don't actually need a heater in here.
Yeah, it's
so I was more interested in just getting it working than I was in doing anything else. So
yep.
But so I gave James an idea for like the Voron parts with his press fits. Tell me if this may or may not work. So with resin, if you were to press fit or use the make a hole tool in Chichu Box, that was about the same diameter, if not a little bit smaller than your press fit, and then you press it in before you cure it, would that be the same, similar to heat press fitting in with FDM?
Yes and no. So the issue that you will run into is it has to be a clear part, because with a solid color, you will not be able to cure the inside where that press is going, unless it's a through and through press. Like if it doesn't have a bottom, it's like see-through. Maybe you can get the bottom to cure a little bit, but the problem is the sides itself is getting it to cure. So whereas a clear print, if you set it inside of a clear print, then you can essentially cure it while shining the light through the clear print.
Okay.
So that would be the only way that I think it would work. So
I just figured, James, I figured I'd ask while I was still here about that idea. But all right, gentlemen, my son had just arrived at his school.
No worries. I'm going to call it a night as well. Thank you both very much for making the time and the interesting conversation.
All righty, sir.
See you both very soon.
Have a good one.
Cheers, guys. Bye.